Has been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
This is about an accident that happened with cars, and each of you claimed that the other is responsible for that accident. The accident happened when, Mr. Couch?
May 6, 2013.
And you were working?
Yes, ma'am.
You're a security officer, according to what I read. You're a security officer at a nightclub?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been acting as a security officer?
About 3 years.
Okay. Now, the gentleman that I see you brought as a witness, was he also working with you that evening?
Ma'am.
As a security officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And you and this other gentleman whose name is?
Corey Pewitt.
You and Corey each had your own cars?
Actually, Corey was in the car with me.
So you brought your witness?
Yes, ma'am.
The person who was with you in your car?
Right.
Okay. Now let's get to Miss Thomas.
Yes, ma'am.
You were driving?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was another person in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
That was a woman?
It was.
And since this person here is not a woman, I assume you didn't bring your witness with you?
I did not. But he owns the vehicle that
I don't care if he owns the vehicle. He wasn't there.
Okay.
Right?
No, ma'am, I wasn't there.
Is he related to you?
Yes.
How is he related
My
to
brother.
You were borrowing his car?
He bought it for me, but it's still in his name.
He bought it for you in his name because?
I was going to school, a student, and I needed a car.
So he insures it?
I insured it.
And it was insured on the night of May 6, 2013?
Supposedly.
What do you mean supposedly? What does that mean?
I had insurance on it, but I had not paid the bill.
Well, then it had no insurance.
But I was not at fault. He hit my car.
Just a second. I'm getting there. Right now what we know is you were driving a car. Your responsibility was to insure it.
Yes, ma'am.
You failed in that responsibility, so you had no insurance.
Yes.
And you were leaving the club because you and your girlfriend were in the club.
No.
Well, where were you coming from at 2:30 in the morning?
We were on the parking lot. We didn't actually go in the club.
Where had you been prior to 2:30?
We had been over someone else's house.
Whose house?
Another guy.
Name? Oh, it's not an answer.
It was one of her.
Take the car away. Did you take the car away from her?
The car is done.
Good. Perfect.
It's destroyed. It's tore up.
Yeah.
Irresponsible. Because now you're here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because the car is really yours. And from what I'm hearing, you should be a defendant. So you can stand up and move over to her. You bought the car for her?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay for it?
$900.
And when did you pay for it?
That was probably 2010.
So you bought a $900 car in 2010?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the car that was destroyed in this accident?
Mm-hmm.
The car in which she had no insurance, either liability or collision. So if she killed somebody, do you have a job?
Yes, ma'am.
They would garnish your salary forever because you allowed a car in which you were the registered owner to be used by somebody who had no insurance. So if she killed somebody, where do you think they were going to go after her?
I'm the most careful driver anybody.
Oh, no,
can
you
ride
weren't.
with.
You weren't
Yes,
careful
I
that
am.
night.
I am too careful.
I read your answer. You were fighting with the other girl in the car.
I was, but she altercated the fight. She actually hit me and got out of the car.
Listen to me. You were fighting with the other girl in the car.
I had no choice. The girl hit me. I did not want to fight her in that car. I'm the most responsible driver you can have.
You're irresponsible.
I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are.
I'm sorry.
Yes, you are. Let me tell you why you're irresponsible. Did you have insurance?
I had insurance.
No, you had no insurance. If you don't pay for your insurance, you had no insurance.
It just lapsed. It had lapsed the whole month. It was 3 days. On the third day, that's when this occurred. It had lapsed for only 3 days. It was like a weekend and a Monday. I had no idea I was going to have all this going on. I didn't.
Let me ask you a question. When you woke up this morning to come to court, hold up your hand like this. Did you remember to put on all those rings? How many rings did you remember to put on?
It's just one.
It's just one ring? Mm-hmm. Did you remember to put it on this morning? Did you? Did you remember to put on all your jewelry?
Yes, I put it in my pocket.
Just a second. Did you put on all your jewelry? Did you put on your earrings? Did you put on your necklace? Put it all on?
Yes.
Did you put on your lipstick? Little lip gloss, little eye stuff? Did you remember to all that stuff? And coordinated? You're coordinated. You have nice shoes and nice dress. It's all coordinated. Mm-hmm. What you didn't do was pay your car insurance. And I don't care whether it lapsed for 1 day or 3 days or 3 months. and you were around 2:30 in the morning and you got into a fight with somebody in a car. And that, madam, is not responsible. And I'm not even starting with the accident yet because I'm just getting this all out of my system. I'm reading your answer and your countersuit. Let's see. You're suing him for $5,000 for car damage in your countersuit. That's what it says.
Yes.
On a car that he paid $900 for 3 years ago.
I had no idea he paid that much for that car.
Well, why didn't you? Just a second. He's your brother. Why didn't you ask him? And first of all, I don't believe that you didn't know what he paid for the car or about what he paid for it, because if you went and filed a counterclaim in this case, you say to your brother, listen, I'm going to file the counterclaim because I think the accident was his fault. How much did you pay for the car 3 years ago? And if he says, I paid $15,000 for the car, you say, well, I can only sue for $5,000 in small claims court. That's a reasonable amount. We say, how much did you pay for the car? You say, like he said to me, you wouldn't lie to her, would you, Mr. Cowan? You'd say, I paid $900 for it in 2010. So you want to explain to me why you're suing him? Say nothing. Why you're suing him for $5,000?
Because the car was worth, you paid $900 for it. He obviously got it from somebody who just wanted to sell a car. And people do him like that. I don't never know how much he pays for anything, but when he comes back, I'm thankful for it.
Sit down, Mr. Cowan.
Okay.
Sit down, Mr. Cowan. I may get you up again, but right now you can sit down. Okay, Mr. Couch, I've sort of spent enough time with this nonsense. You want to tell me about these two fighting girls in the car?
Well, myself, Officer Pugh, as well as another security officer, were sitting in the car. Lights flashing in the parking lot. We sit there just for presence so people know that we're out there watching the parking lot. We're sitting out in the lot. Officer Pugh had got called in for a fight, so they called him out. He went upside to the club, came out of the club, and when he was coming out of the club, she was in the car with another chick or whatever, and they were...
Another female.
Another female. And
security officer, Couch.
They were fighting inside the car, fist fighting.
Tell me exactly what they were doing. Were they hitting each other?
Hitting each other.
Yes,
hitting each other in the car. They were coming towards us. Personally, before I actually saw them fighting, I thought that they were flicking the car, they do that kind of zigzag in the car in the parking lot or whatever at clubs.
No, I don't know.
Well,
I really don't know.
We wasn't G-riding. I'm sorry.
It's what?
Flex and G-riding.
Maybe it's just time for me to dig a hole, cover over the hole, put a plant over the hole. People just flick a car, they zigzag. And this is something, just answer this word is something you also know.
I know the word, but I
that's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Yes. Do you know what that is, Mr. Cowan?
No.
How old are you?
37.
37. Oh, there's hope for me. So it's just going like this for no reason.
Basically.
Acting like a fool.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
is that what it is? It's just acting like a fool with a 5,000-pound weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? I just trying to figure it out.
So
people do that.
They were coming. They do that a lot. Well, they were coming towards us pretty much at a nice little speed between maybe 30 and 45 miles an hour. And once they got close, we saw that they were actually in the car fist fighting. When really had no time to move or do anything before she actually collided with both of the cars.
And did the passenger get out of the car?
We had to actually get both of them out of the car because after she hit our cars, they continued fighting in the car.
And it was two females?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do a report on this case?
Police.
No, any kind of report. A security report, a club report.
No, ma'am.
Why not?
The head of security chose not to.
No. The head of security chose nothing. Did you call the police?
No, ma'am. It was on private property. The police were actually already on the scene.
Actually, police report would have been very helpful here, Mr. Couch. And head of security doesn't choose not to file. If you're in a security car and you're not injured, that's one thing. But if you're driving your own car, you know enough. You've been in security 3 years. You call the police and you have them come down and take a look at what's going on. You know that, right?
Right.
Now you're going to tell me why you didn't do that.
Because
it's not an answer.
The defendant said that once we got her out the car, she apologized several times, said she was so sorry. You know, her insurance would pay for it, and We just did it. And I asked the head of security what did he want to do about it because his vehicle was also hit. And he said, well, if she has her insurance, we give her insurance information, then we'll file a claim or whatever and be done with it.
So did she give you her insurance information
Yes,
that day?
She did. That
I'd
night.
like to see that. How did she give it to you? Did she write it herself?
We actually wrote that information down.
Pulled it
Well,
out
that
the car.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not talking to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. As Davisha Thomas crashed into a security vehicle and his personal car while driving through a parking lot. Davisha is countersuing for the damage to her car.
I'd like to see what she gave you that night.
This is the information that we had got off her insurance
Thank you.
card.
When did you write this stuff?
That night.
I was trying to get her out the...
I'm not speaking to you. Well, you wrote this out that night?
Yes, ma'am.
It says that the expiration from the insurance was 4/21/2013. So you knew that she had no insurance.
Well, she had advised us that she just didn't have the card with her, but she did have the insurance. So we saw those two cards, and
It says it expired in April. So this is what you have. You have two women fighting in a car, caused damage to your two cars.
Right.
You're not only suing for the damage to your car, but you also said that you had a little hurt. And then you get insurance, and it says it's expired. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Couch. As a security officer, you now have this, and you have somebody who now has no insurance. You see how easy it is for me to ask questions?
Right.
You're an intelligent man, right? You say, well, get somebody on the phone. This is your automobile coverage. They're there 24 hours a day. Find out if there's insurance, because she can tell you anything she wants to tell you.
right.
But this says it expired before the accident. I would have called the police. They would have issued her a summons, having no insurance. They might have issued her a summons for something else. Was she drinking?
Not that I don't know. I'm not sure.
Was her companion drinking?
I'm not sure.
What's her companion's name?
Avanetta or something like that.
What do you mean? You didn't write down the witnesses to the accident?
I did write it down, but
Where is it?
I didn't bring it with me.
Why?
Because it was my fault.
Of course it was your fault. Of course it was your fault.
No.
Oh, yeah, it was. You weren't having a fight with somebody in the car.
I was paying attention to pictures show. I was paying attention. I was actually
Pictures
trying
show
to
you.
leave the
I would
girl.
like to see pictures that show me you were paying attention.
I,
I would like to see pictures that show me you were paying attention.
here go the pictures of
Can
my
I see
car.
the pictures that show me that she was paying attention?
'Cause
I don't know what you were doing in the car, Mr. Couch. I'm not exactly certain. I know that you didn't behave like a normal person that is working a detail in their own private car and has an accident.
He hit
Because-
me.
Hey, you keep interrupting. You should be so attentive to your insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I just have to figure out whether Mr. Couch, because I don't think he did everything actually that I would have done as a normal person, certainly not a security officer for 3 years, on the night of May 6th. I have to try to figure out what's going on here.
I also have pictures of the scene as well.
All I want to see is she's showing me pictures that she says shows that she was paying attention.
He hit my car.
How long have you been working as a security officer?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You were driving your own car?
No, ma'am.
You just said that your car got damaged.
No, I don't have a car.
No, I said another security officer.
Another security
Yes, ma'am.
officer. Was he driving his own car?
Yes, ma'am. He was SC1.
What's his name?
His name was Lewis.
And what did he do with regard to the damage on his car?
He said he got the same information that I did. We copied the same information. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing about getting his car fixed or not, but, you know, we did get the same information. And he was actually the one that was the head of security. So his car was the one that was damaged also.
Let me understand this. Head of security's car was damaged.
Yes, ma'am.
And yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And he told you that night not to call the police.
No,
and
ma'am.
file a
Police was
report.
already on the scene.
They were there.
MPD was there on the scene.
So why don't I have a police report of what happened?
They did not do the police report because they said it was on private property.
Nah. Now, let me hear. Came out? What'd you see?
Well, when I came out, the only thing I
Look here.
seen was the car hit the back of the car in front of the car.
Now, did you see whose car hit whose first?
Her car hit their car first.
Hit whose car?
The black car, then it hit his car.
So her car hit the head of security's
Yes, ma'am.
car, and the head of security's car hit his car.
No, after she hit his car, her car hit his car.
So she hit two cars.
Yes, ma'am.
I did not hit neither one of them cars.
Now, listen to this question very carefully. After the collision of the cars, what was the next thing you saw happen with regard to the two girls?
When they approached the two girls. And
Who
got them out
approached
car.
the two girls?
Couch and Lewis.
So Couch and Lewis, the head of security, approached the two girls, and where were they?
They was inside the car.
Both of them still inside the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure about that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened?
That's when they took them out because they were still fighting.
They pulled them out of the car?
Yes.
Both girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. What kind of car do you drive, Mr. Couch?
2004 Dodge Intrepid.
These are terrible pictures, Mr. Couch. When did you take these pictures?
The night of the scene, right after it happened.
Did you have the car fixed?
No, ma'am.
And you had no collision on the car?
No, ma'am.
Or do you want to just get that number for me for 2004 Dodge Intrepid, please? 2004 Dodge Intrepid Police. What is that?
Police edition.
When did you buy it?
Bought it last year
From whom?
from a guy in Alabama.
You sold it privately?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay him?
$4,000.
You have a bill of sale.
$38.50.
Cost you $3,000 to fix it. I don't know if you're going to fix it or not. I'm not sure you paid, but you said you paid for this police car. How many thousand miles did it have on it?
When I got it, it was 70,000 miles on the car.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
These are excuses. You may step out.
They came in to try to stop me from leaving, and they hit my car.
Well, we never pulled our cars in front of her, number one.
If my airbag hadn't popped out, that would have been the only thing that saved me. I could have really been hurt in that accident.
There was no airbags, and they were still fighting as if nothing happened.
It was scary because I didn't know if they was going to take us to jail. I didn't know because the whole accident was the girl's fault. It wasn't mine.
Well, I didn't see the part where she was getting jumped. I saw the part where both of them were fighting in the car.
Because if she hadn't hit me and just got out the car like she was supposed to, I wouldn't have been there.
Everybody's going to jail.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bagala versus Quintana. Step forward.
Valerie Bagala is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Josiah Quintana, for money owed on a Prius.
Miss Bagala, you and the defendant were a couple.
Correct.
While you were a couple, according to both of you, you entered into some sort of convoluted car deal. Let me see if I understand it. You had an older Honda. You wanted a new car, a Prius. Saves on gas. But you weren't able to have the loan in your name because you were buying a house?
Correct.
So you didn't want to burden yourself with too much credit problem. And Mr. Quintana, who was your boyfriend, who was going to live with you in the house? What does that mean?
If we stayed together, he would have been living in the house.
Well, at that time, I assumed you planned on staying together,
Yes.
considering this deal.
Yes.
Right? Mr. Quintana, according to you, wanted your Honda.
Correct.
Which was, according to you, worth about $6,000.
Correct.
So he agreed to take out the loan for your Prius, which was $6,000,
The loan was for $6,000.
and he was going to pay off the loan on the Prius, and that would account for the Honda, which he took, right? Then you broke up. So far, does that have any familiarity to you, sir?
Some false pretenses, but
Some false pretenses. False pretense, well, I don't know what you mean false pretenses.
2012 she was buying a car. She would complain about you spending $700 worth of gas.
Listen, don't tell me the whole story. Just cut to the chase. When you broke up, did you take the Honda?
Yeah, she wouldn't
Just
give
a
it back.
second. When you broke up, did you take the Honda?
Yes.
Yes. And in what year did you take the Honda?
2012,
When in 2012?
June, May.
You had a fight or you just decided to break up?
We just ended up breaking up.
Okay. So there was no fight, no police were called, nothing, right?
No.
And when you left, were you living in her house?
No, I had to move out.
Had you been living in her house?
Yes, I was living in her house.
When you moved out of her house, did you take your clothes? Think.
No.
You
No.
left your clothes there? After you moved out and left your clothes
I
there?
had to get it later.
Did you get your clothes?
Yes.
How did you get your clothes?
She dropped it off.
Did you take any other property when you moved out?
No.
You just left?
Yeah. She told me she would drop off the stuff later.
So you just got in your car and left?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I moved down the street, rent a room out from a sheriff.
So you moved down the block?
Yes.
With the Honda?
Yes.
Which you still have?
Yes.
Great. Now, you have the Prius?
Correct.
How much have you paid on the Prius?
$3,500 I put down, plus fixing the window that he smashed.
Okay, $3,500. And how much have you paid on the Prius?
$4,100.
And how much did you agree to pay for the Honda?
Nothing.
Nothing. So she was going to give you the Honda.
She gave me it because she was using my car.
Which is your car?
The Prius.
Be ridiculous.
It's in my name.
Would you do me a favor and look up the cost of a 2005 Honda? He's going to ask you all kinds of make. Be prepared.
What's the make and model?
It's a 2005 Honda Accord LX.
2-door, 4-door?
4-door.
$59.25.
$59.25. And that was in good condition, I assume?
Good.
Good condition. So it's about $6,000. And this is as of what year, Bird, is this little book?
This is April through June 2013.
2013.
Right.
So back in 2012, it would have been, if my math is right, a little more valuable, right? A little more valuable.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds just right. So he's paid $4,100, which means he has to pay another $1,900. So?
Your Honor?
What?
The car was like in horrible condition.
I don't care. Your deal. You have to pay another $1,900. Then you have the Honda. Did she sign over the Honda to you?
No, there was an agreement.
Listen to me. Do you have the title to the Honda?
No.
Do you have the title to the Honda?
Yes,
Great.
sir.
Sign it over to him. Now.
Okay.
Wait, Your Honor?
Listen to me. You're getting the Honda. It's yours.
Your Honor, if he...
Honda.
Okay. I don't have a pen.
Well, can she pay for the payments that I...
Honda. You're going to pay her another $1,900. Then the Honda's yours. And then I can go do something that I find interesting. This is not it.
He's going to pay off the Prius, right?
What?
He's going to pay off the Prius, right? Before
No, he's going to give you $1,900. You can do whatever you want with it.
Well, because then...
And that's what's happening. Understand this.
Your
That's
Honor,
what's happening.
I have evidence that he had agreed to pay off the car in 6 months.
Listen to me, dear. That's what's happening. Your Honda was worth $6,000. He's going to pay $6,000, and the Honda is now his. He has already paid $4,100 towards your Prius. He is going to give you another $1,900, and I am going through that door.
The Prius is...
Sign it! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're both going to be out of here, and then you can both deal with your problems without me.
Your Honor.
You're without me. This is very fair. You had a car, it was worth $6,000. He bought the car. In exchange, he's going to pay $6,000 towards your Prius. That's it. Over. Period. Done. Either you want it, which means he gets the Honda, and you get $1,900, or I say, ta-ta, go back to small claims court. Say nothing else. Those are your two doors. What do you want?
He also has to...
What do you want? Not he also. Door number 1 or door number 2?
Your Honor, I have...
Door number 1 or door number 2?
Your Honor, he broke my window out of the Prius, which I had to pay.
Oh, that's it. She wants to go back to small claims court. Is that your pleasure?
No.
Sign it. He gets the Honda. You get $1,900 towards the Prius, which means he's paid $6,000 towards a car you're driving, and I am out of here.
Your Honor...
1, 2,
The Prius is under his
3.
name.
Toodaloo.
I don't... Your Honor, please, can you listen to my evidence?
Just a second. No, listen to me. He's going to sign the Prius over to you. Sign it or goodbye.
He doesn't have the title to give to me, Your Honor. Can you please listen
Sign
to my
it.
evidence?
He is not paying off your entire car. What do you want?
Your Honor, I really believe I deserve the full amount that I'm requesting in this case.
You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it.
He broke out the window in my car.
Listen to me.
And he didn't pay me a dime for it. He said he would.
Do you want the $1,900 and you want to sign over the car to him, or do you want me to leave you exactly the way I found you? Your pleasure.
Your Honor, I beg of you to please listen
Goodbye.
to my evidence.
Excuse me, step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
extremely angry, and he broke out the Prius window, broke the stereo on the Honda, and then he actually stole the Prius, which he eventually gave back to me about 6 months later.
The Prius isn't my name, and so she's claiming I broke it and stole it. Why would I break my own window, and why would I steal my own car?
Took a report, and in case something happened, I was actually afraid for my life at the time.
So that's the reason why the police didn't do anything.
To be a little bit smarter when I'm dealing with this and get things in writing ahead of time.
She's really tight with her money, and lesson learned, don't date older women.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lowe versus Story. Step forward.
Tara Lowe is suing her ex-boyfriend, Jonathan Story, for unpaid rent and bills and for damaging her screen door when he punched it.
Miss Lowe, the defendant is your former live-in boyfriend. You say you supported him. He promised to pay you back. He didn't. You want the money. The defendant has a counterclaim. He says you illegally evicted him from the apartment. That's pretty much what the case is about.
Correct.
I want to start with you, Mr. Story. How old are you, sir?
27.
Stand up straight.
27 years old.
You a musician?
Yes.
What kind of a musician?
Rap/hip-hop.
Do you make any money at that?
To a certain extent.
What does that mean?
Like royalties, ASCAP royalties, things like that. Show money. However, my first choice of employment is where I get the majority of my income, which is, a regular job.
What's your regular job?
Alliance Financial Resources. I'm an administrative assistant.
When did you start that job?
Started about 3 months ago now.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was working at another telemarketing agency and so on and so forth. I've been up and downs on jobs. I went through a lot, actually.
Four jobs?
Yeah. However, there was not a lot of gap in between employment, so.
So you were regularly employed?
Yes, regularly
So
employed.
you were regularly employed at a full-time job, and you had part-time work
as a musician.
As a musician. Give me an idea of how much money you would make as a musician.
For about a 6-month span with shows, I'd say about $800.
$800 for the whole 6 months?
Yeah.
And how much would you earn from your regular employment?
About $1,200 a month.
And during what period of time did you live with the plaintiff?
I'm not good on the dates, but it was for about a 6-month period.
6-month periods while you were both working and doing your royalties?
Yes.
Could you tell me why you were getting welfare? Stand up.
Why
Straight.
I was getting welfare?
Yeah, explain to me why you were getting welfare.
Prior to that, I was...
Not prior to that. While you were living with her.
Oh, while
Which is
I was
what
living...
you told me.
Yeah.
Listen to me carefully. While you were living with her, you just told me I was employed on a full-time basis in telemarketing, making $1,200 a month, and you also had additional income from royalties, et cetera, and I would like to know why you were getting welfare. A bird would like to know why you were getting welfare.
I was getting...
What?
I was getting welfare for about 6 months prior, and I just let it run out.
Not 6 months prior. I'm not talking 6 months prior. 6 months prior is a nebulous kind of number. 6 months prior to... I asked you specifically. When you were together, you were working on a full-time basis, plus you had additional income. You're a single male making $1,200 a month, plus. And I would like to know why the taxpayers in this country were contributing to your food and benefits card, because that's what you talk about in your answer. Because I had to look up these words that you swore to in your answer. She used my EBT benefits.
EBT benefits. Okay.
So, while you were living together.
Yeah.
And used my access benefits every time she got sick. And I assume it's an ATM thing or whatever you use, this EBT card.
Yeah.
So, is there an explanation that you want to give me, or you want to go on to something else? Go on to something else.
Yeah.
It's probably a good idea. Yeah. Now, this is what I gather from your story, Miss Lowe. And I must tell you from the beginning, I am super unsympathetic with him, because I think this stuff that he just gave me was a whole lot of mumbo-jumbo hustle, except he wasn't hustling me that he was getting welfare while working. However, your complaint was interesting, because you said you moved into an apartment, you signed a lease together, so he was entitled to be there. You called the studio where he was working one day, and you heard a female voice, you got angry, and you locked him out and changed the locks. You can't do that. You can't do that. Because you picked a loser doesn't mean you can lock him out. Those two things don't go together when he is on the lease.
Understandable. We did have a verbal agreement.
A verbal agreement for what?
That if I asked him to leave, he would leave on his own terms.
But he didn't, so you locked him out. You can't do that.
That's what I was told by the police officer to do, is change the locks for fear of myself.
I don't listen to me. You had no fear of your own safety. When you spoke to him on the phone, according to you, you said, I'm locking you out and I'm throwing your stuff out on the porch. And he said, you better not do that. I'll beat you to a pulp. Well, you can't tell him you're going to lock him out of his home.
It was at a later date that we changed the locks.
Listen to me. You can't lock him out. That's an illegal eviction. So you got to pick who you're going to live with very carefully.
I agree.
Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
You living there by yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Good for you. You don't get any money from him. Because he does have an action for illegal eviction. However, there's a big however. Did she cover your bills for a period of time?
The first 2 months that we stayed with each other, yes.
And what did she cover for you in bills?
Rent.
Rent?
Yes.
And how much was your share of the rent?
This was not while we were living together. This was like when we first had started dating. I was in my own apartment and I was unemployed. And
so she gave you money when you were not living together?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How much?
Approximately $575 per month, so in a 2-month range. So
like $1,000?
About $1,000.
Which is what you're suing for illegal eviction?
Yes.
So on your claim,
yes, ma'am,
for money that you advanced him for rent, I'm going to give you $1,000 on paper. And for his illegal eviction, I'm going to give him what he's asking for, which is $1,000, which means you both get nothing. Which means you can't lock him out, but you did advance him this money for rent, and you owe her the money. What?
Your Honor, he was a great guy at first. He actually paid me back
listen,
the money
do I look like Dr. Phil? I don't care. I don't care about being a great guy. I don't care about... Is there any reason? Do you have... I'm
just trying to wet my throat.
You did that before we came in. I'm here with you, and I haven't wet my throat. Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye, folks. Thanks.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He punched the screen door in until...
There was a screen there, and I knew it.
With my face behind it.
And I was aggravated, so...
Police told me to file an order of protection, which I did.
Yeah, I've learned my lessons.
And to change the locks, which I did.
She's crazy. That's about it.
This is O'Neill.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
This is a very oddball case. Let me see if I understand it. You met Mr. O'Neill when you purchased some wallpaper from him.
Yes, sir.
Is that your business, sir?
No, ma'am. My father had passed away, and he was going to remodel the mobile home that we're talking about. The wallpaper that he was going to use for the house I had in the storage closet, so I put an ad on Craigslist to sell it because I had no need for it. I was going to use it.
And Miss Harrison, you answered the ad and you said, I'll buy the wall. Met him.
Yes.
And you became, according to you, friends.
Yes.
At some point, you say that you discussed you working on remodeling this house that had been left to Mr. O'Neill by his father, which is in Florida. You don't live in Florida.
I commute between Florida and Arizona. When my father passed away, I had moved my primary residence to Florida, so I was living in that mobile home.
Where were you living in Florida?
In that mobile home in St. Petersburg.
So are you telling me that the home that she was decorating was a mobile home?
That's correct.
And you were living there during the remodel?
Yes, ma'am. I had left. I was going to come back to Arizona.
So the answer is you weren't living there during the remodel?
I was not there during the remodel, but it was my residence.
You weren't living there during the remodel?
I lived there. I was in Arizona visiting my children during the remodel.
And when did you move physically from Arizona to your father's house?
2010.
So you moved there in 2010. Now, when was she going to do the remodeling?
Teresa had gotten a hold of me in 2011 and had reminded me that my father had a dream to remodel this particular, the mobile home. And so I had agreed to go ahead and go through with that. She said we could do a whole lot with a couple cans of paint.
Had you seen her in between the time she bought the wallpaper from you in 2011?
She would email me periodically, but I didn't see her until that actual time that she offered to...
So just communicated through emails?
Very few.
Emails?
Yes, ma'am.
You did not see her?
No, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
What made you decide in 2011 that you had this burning desire to remodel his mobile home?
It was in 2012. And David had come into town in August, and he called me. I went over to his place. He invited me over, looked at the property, and I said, you know, I think I can help you remodel this on a dime.
Is that your business?
I do it on the side. I'm like HGTV, design on a dime queen, and I can do it very well, and I can get free supplies from contractors.
Did you like Mr. O'Neill?
As a friend, yes, Your Honor.
As a friend. Or maybe more, but you didn't know?
Not at the time.
Are you a single lady?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you a single gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Got it. Got the picture. So you were going to, on a dime, remodel him.
His home.
And this is what your lawsuit is about. Some cockamamie thing that somebody was coming to your house with children, and you said, I was afraid that the children would hurt my furniture, so I asked if I could store my furniture in his mobile home. And then he said he would pay you some to remodel, and then you went out on a date, he says, and didn't work out all that well, and now you want your furniture back and the money for remodeling. That's what this case is about, right? Where's the furniture?
The furniture is inside the mobile home, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have furniture inside the mobile home?
I had furniture inside the mobile home
before
the remodel.
She put hers in
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
Okay. You want to tell me, Mr. O'Neill, what she said to you about the furniture that she wanted to put into your mobile home?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, she called me. I didn't call her.
Furniture.
Okay. She offered to help me clean up my mobile home. And so to me, that was...
Not to you.
Okay.
Furniture. Get to the furniture. Because I don't know if I believe her story.
I didn't know that there was going to be a bunch of furniture put in the house. All I agreed to was to have the house cleaned up and painted. And I left to go to Arizona for 5 weeks. During those 5 weeks, she would call me and say, do you mind if I get rid of your furniture? Which do you want to keep? Which do you want to save? And I said, well, I don't have the money to do anything else with it. She said, well, I'll take care of that. She said, I can get...
So she got rid of some of the furniture that was in the house?
She got rid of all the furniture that was in the house and even offered some of it to the man doing the remodel, my witness.
Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Who were you?
Joseph Knight, the remodeling.
You did the remodeling?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you work for her?
With her, not for her.
Okay. Did you have a conversation about furniture with her?
A number of times, Teresa had asked me to pick up a couch, for instance, she had purchased from another client of hers for David, essentially giving me the assumption that it was a gift.
Not your assumption. She asked you to pick up a
couch
that she had purchased.
Yes, Your Honor, for $100 from a previous client as a gift to David.
No, no. Don't say things that I don't believe.
Those are her words.
Okay. She asked you to get the couch that she purchased from somebody else.
Yes, Your Honor.
And put it in his house.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you do that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you go to pick up the couch?
Largo, Florida.
That's not where she lived, was it?
Very close, a few blocks over.
But it wasn't in her house.
That's correct, Your Honor. It was not in her home.
So it was in no jeopardy from people who were visiting her house who had little children that she didn't want to trust around her things.
Correct, Your Honor. Went from the client's home directly to David's mobile home.
In late October 2012, I had a friend and her 2 children in my house. I told David I would need to store some fragile items in his house I was remodeling.
The couch was not one of them. I bought the couch from, I'm a private duty nurse, and I bought it from the little girl that I take care of, her mother. And I called David prior to that, and I said, she has a Pier 1 couch, and she is going to sell it for $100. Do you want it, David? And he said yes.
Did you say that to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
I said I don't know how I can afford it, but yes.
No. That's what it means. It means it cost you $100.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you give her $100 for the couch?
Not yet, ma'am.
Well, then you owe her the $100 for the couch.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Plaintiff, $100. That's so far. Let's go, Ms. Harrison. What else did you purchase for his house that you called and asked him about?
I paid for all of the remodeling that went on in the bathroom. I have all the Home Depot receipts for that. That Joe did the labor.
Just a second. And how much was that?
The total?
Yes.
That part of the remodel, I'd have to look at the receipts and divide them out because there was a lot of receipts. And all the receipts are at David's house. And after he changed the locks, I had to do a receipt recovery to get the receipts.
Did you do the receipt recovery?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Fine. So add up the receipts.
Okay.
I would like to know what you spent on remodeling his house.
$2,220.
Not your labor.
No labor.
No labor.
I didn't
And what
charge
was
her
the
that.
agreed upon price that you had with him?
We didn't never agree upon a price. He said that he had $300 to start, and he was very informed on the whole entire remodel, and I called and asked him.
Yeah, sorry, don't buy that. I knew I had to take this job, so I agreed to remodel it for under $1,500. That's what you said.
And that didn't include
That's
the labor.
exactly what you said. That's
Yes.
what you swore to.
That doesn't include paying Joe.
That's what you said.
Okay.
That's what you said here. For under $1,500. And he gave me $300. That's a perfectly reasonable figure.
He didn't give me anything.
Didn't give you anything. Did you give her any money?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
It escalated past that point. She was in the middle of the remodel, which I had not agreed to get all the furniture.
What kind of work do you do?
I do executive protection, security.
Is that how you've made a living your whole life?
I've made a living doing several things.
Okay, but you sound like a responsible guy. You're wearing a suit and tie. You know how to make arrangements to fly from Florida to Arizona, from Arizona to Florida. So you're not stupid. Why would you think that she would spend all this money to remodel somebody that you saw twice, when she got the wallpaper and then once more? Why would you think she would exert all of this effort and spend this money, sir, if she wasn't going to get compensated for it?
At first, I thought it was because of a friendship.
Ow, baloney. I want to know when the last time was, sir, that you did something nice for a friend and spent money. Tell me the friend's name and what you did.
Ma'am, I didn't know it was going to be as big of a job as it was.
$1,500 to
I
remodel
was
a
never
home is
told
not a big job.
$1,500. She said she was going to do some painting. That's what it was limited to when I was leaving. And while I was on my trip, I kept getting phone calls saying, I can do this, I can get rid of furniture, I can buy
Then
this.
all you have to do is say no.
I did say I don't know how I can pay for it, and I did agree.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. David O'Neill owes for remodeling work on his mobile home and for the cost of furniture. David says Therese had ulterior motives.
You can sit down. Initially, I had very little sympathy for you when I read these papers. I said, you know what, probably a lady saw him, said, you know, he's got potential, maybe he could turn into something. I'll sort of ingratiate myself and fix up this place for him and we'll keep something going, which I think you actually thought might happen because nobody decides to take on a project like that, Miss Harrison. If he looked like Quasimodo, I guarantee you, you would not have taken on this project. See, nobody knows what Quasimodo is. Oh, my, lived too long.
Your Honor, I previously
$1,500 is what you say he agreed to pay. He paid you nothing?
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Thank you.
He's like, excuse me, step out.
David knew he needed to pay me because he sent me text messages saying, I'll pay you what I can when I can.
What she has presented is incorrect.
I never thought that he would not pay me, stop calling me.
She's more of an obsessive, compulsive drama queen and made more of a situation that never should have taken place.
So he's basically a pathological liar.
I think to be more than just friends.
That's just David's way of turning the story around.
At the end of that particular dinner, we went to get a hug and she tried to kiss me twice.
Like David does, period.
And I backed off and said, no, we're not going to go there. And she said, does kissing make you nervous?
Because the gravy train ended.
I said, no, we just don't have a reason to be there. That's not where we're going with this relationship. That's when everything turned against me.
That's the bottom line. The gravy train ended. When I put a stop to it, it changed his locks, everything.
Just to keep my distance and to stay single and alone.
Glad it's over, and I'll be sure not to ever find a friend like that again.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Higginbottom versus Higginbottom. Step forward.
Shannon and Cecil Higginbottom III are suing Cecil's son, Cecil IV, for bills incurred when he illegally used his father's Social Security number.
Mr. and Mrs. Higginbottom, this is your son.
Yes.
Your complaint is that your son opened 2 accounts using your personal security number, your name, as a result of which your credit was damaged. So you want him not to only be responsible for the bills, but for your credit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's deal with the credit first, because I like to keep things simple.
Yes, Your Honor.
I gather that you and your wife went through a bankruptcy based upon something that I read in here. Is that right?
That's correct, ma'am.
And you're trying to rebuild your credit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you don't have good credit.
That's correct.
Because once you've been in a bankruptcy, your credit is
shot. Yes, ma'am.
So it's not that he hurt your credit. He sort of impeded your ability to start over.
Well, for the most part, I'd already been building my credit up, but that just detoured it, made it a little worse.
So it was a minor detour.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The minor detour is not worth $3,200. Now, let's talk about the 2 accounts. When did you open the accounts and what were they for?
One was a satellite TV, and
Okay, let's start with satellite TV. When did you open it?
My father opened it about 2 or 3 years ago.
That's not correct. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't have good credit at the time. I had a car repo, and so me and my father haven't had a good relationship. I grew up with foster care. We've been off and on.
Everybody has bad credit
Right.
and not a good relationship.
Right.
Perfect. When did he open the account for you?
probably February or March of 2 or 3 years ago. I couldn't give an exact date.
Where were you living at the time?
Clinton, Tennessee.
And where was your father living?
North Carolina.
And just tell me how he opened this account for you. I mean, whether it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, you call him and say, I would need satellite TV. How did that come about?
We'd been talking off and on. He offered to
No,
go.
not he offered.
Good.
Not he offered. I have a lot of
told him-
children.
Right.
I would not call my children in the course of conversation, how would you like some satellite TV?
Right.
I don't think I've ever said that to him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. The third says his son, Cecil IV, used his Social Security number to open a satellite TV and cell phone account. He is suing for the unpaid bills.
Now, tell me how he opened this account for you.
I implied to him I didn't have good credit, that I wanted TV, and he offered to help me.
I want a TV.
Right.
Right, and I had no credit.
Right.
Did you discuss that with your father?
I did.
Who came up with the down payment?
I did.
You're not sure of the year it happened, but you're sure about all these things.
I am.
So you came up with the down payment.
That's correct.
And?
They came out, they installed it.
Terrific.
About a couple months later, I was to give a award for CASA. After being there a week, I came back. My father asked me to come out and visit him. I was there for about a week, and then he asked me to come down and stay with him and my sister. We came back, we packaged everything.
Who packaged everything?
Me, my sister, my ex-fiance, and my sister's ex-husband.
Okay, so you and others, not your mother, not your father.
Correct.
You went back to Tennessee, you boxed up your stuff.
Correct.
You moved to North Carolina.
Correct.
And?
That's,
I'm waiting.
That's when the satellite and the property was there at my sister's house. It got damaged in a hurricane because there was a hurricane that year. My sister got an insurance check, and she was supposed to pay for the satellite receiver.
Not true.
She didn't do that. About summer of that year, we had prepaid phones. I was working on base, and my fiance was working at Best Buy. I told my father I didn't like the phones, and then...
Don't get to the phones. The phones...
Okay. That's
are yet
all for
another...
the satellite.
So that was all for the satellite?
Yeah. After my sister got the check, she was supposed to pay for the damages for the receiver of the satellite.
So what does that have to do with your father?
Because it was in his name. He opened the account.
No, I know, but what does that have to do with responsibility to your father? You had a deal with this satellite. You asked him to do you a favor,
Right.
to use his name to open the account
Right.
so that you could watch television.
Correct.
You did not follow through. You personally did not follow through with ensuring that both the bills were paid and the machinery returned to them.
I didn't ensure that the stuff was returned. That's correct. But
That's
when it
correct.
was damaged,
And-
it should have been paid
and-
for with the insurance check my sister
Just
got.
a second. That has nothing to do with your father. He did you a favor.
Correct.
You want to take that up with your sister. You take that up with your sister. He doesn't have to take it up with your sister. He says, I did you a favor. You guaranteed me that you would take care of the problem if there were problems, and you didn't do it, right? Perfect. I know the story he just gave me was somewhat convoluted as far as you're concerned. You thought it was a much more straightforward story. Doesn't make any difference. He's still responsible.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I have other things to do today. Do you understand?
I do.
Great. So, how much does he owe you for the satellite?
The satellite is $1,024, and that is in collection right now.
That's $1,024. Now I want you to tell me, because the other part of your father's claim, which was a much smaller part, but still $180, something like that,
Yes, Your Honor.
had to do with a cell phone. You know what that's about?
I do.
You and your ex-fiancée
Correct.
got cell phones.
Correct.
What does that have to do with your father?
Because we had prepay at the time. We were living with my father approximately 2 months.
Just a second. You and your fiancée were living with your father.
Correct.
And when was that?
About March, I said 2 or 3 years ago, so it's 2011, I'd say.
Okay. You and your fiancé are living with your father.
Correct.
You needed phones.
Correct.
You got prepaid phones. That means that you pay so much, you get a phone when it's over, it's over.
Correct.
So, got the phones.
Mhm.
How does that impact on him?
I asked my father if he'd help me out getting a cell phone for me and my fiance, that I'd pay the bill because I was working on base.
So instead of the prepaid phones, you got different phones?
Correct.
Phones where there was a bill every month.
Correct, and they were paid every month.
And then?
And then we paid every single month. About February of the following year, we decided we were going to move back to Tennessee because my fiance missed his family. When we were about to move 2 weeks before, I told my father we were moving. We got our taxes back, asked if he needed anything. He said no. We're here approximately 2 months, so about March or April, I was offered an opportunity to speak for CASA and write a letter for them and tell them how CASA impacted my life. I did so. It came out on the internet, also made a video. In that article, it stated how my father wasn't there for me, how my CASA teacher taught me how to drive a car and shave and do all this other stuff like father would. My father saw that, became upset, contacted me about it, called me derogatory names, told me he wished I was dead, so on and so forth. It went on for a couple months. That's when he started making the claims about the DirecTV and how I owed him. I ended up having to block him on Facebook. He also called CASA. Go ahead.
I got the story.
Okay.
What does it have to do with
He ended up
the
canceling
phone?
the phone lines
He
after
can't.
paying every month. I had one bill due, and before I could pay that bill, it was 1 month, he canceled
the phone line.
Right. After a
Okay,
year
so he
paying
got
for
angry
it.
with you and canceled the phone line
Correct.
because you said
What was
for the
true.
world to see that he was a lousy father.
Which
So
is
he
true,
said, I
yes.
want to see a lousy father. Here's your lousy father. I'm going to cancel your phone.
True.
This is the last bill.
So would you please just tell me how much the last bill was? Was
Last
180?
bill was, I believe, 188.76.
Okay. Those are things that you owe.
Right.
Nothing prevents you from going to lecture to young people. If you were in foster care, which I gather you were for a period of time,
Correct.
sometimes things happen in life that we all wish we could rewrite and recreate. So, without asking him, he probably felt hurt when he saw things that were published that said you were not there for me.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Was he in foster care for a period of time?
Yes, he was.
Were you hospitalized?
No.
Were you in the military?
Yes, I was.
At the time he was in foster care, were you in the military?
Yes, I was.
Away?
No, ma'am. I was in the United States.
Oh, just my own curiosity before I rule in your favor for $1,212. Why was he in foster care?
Due to his anger issues and his attitude, he was placed at a level.
How old were you when you went into foster care?
I was 10 years old.
10.
Correct.
You tell me he was 17, that's a different story. You tell me that he was 10, and that's why he was placed in a different environment. That's something else. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,212.
Why did Judge Steve when they step out?
The article I wrote wasn't saying he was a lousy father, but we had some issues when I was growing up.
No, the article had nothing to do with it. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion.
He found out about it, asked me about it, told him.
But, you know, it does hurt a little bit when it stands in court and says I was a lousy father when I wasn't.
And I tried to explain to him before that it wasn't nothing negative on his part, but it was the circumstance of the situation.
I hope we can repair what this damage has done.
Because of that article, we've never had really a good relationship.
I mean, but it's all up to him. He knows where I'm at. He can call me, pick up the phone anytime.
We tried a couple times, but it's always had an issue.
I still love him. He's my son.
We've not had a relationship before, so there's really no reason to keep trying.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Simpson versus Mack. Step forward.
Don Simpson Jr. is suing his former friend, Ezekiel Mack, for a loan to buy a car, the cost of a parking ticket, and the return of the vehicle in question.
Oh, my goodness. When people try convoluted schemes, they always get themselves into trouble. And then they come to us and they say, can you please fix this? You know, we didn't mean to do this.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Don Simpson Jr. says former friend Ezekiel Mack owes for a loan to buy a car, the cost of a parking ticket, and the return of the vehicle in question.
Mr. Mack, you had a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Wasn't a very good car.
It was a piece.
But you also needed money.
Yes, correct.
And the only collateral that you had to get some money on a loan was on the car.
Correct.
Why didn't you do that?
I asked a buddy for some help. I asked a
No,
friend
no,
for some
no.
help.
You had a car. You wanted to take out title loan on the car, where they would give you a certain amount of money
Correct.
in exchange for putting a lien on the car so they could take the car if you didn't pay back the money.
Correct.
So you had the car, you had the title. Why didn't you do that?
Well, I couldn't get the car registered in my name.
Why not?
I didn't have a license
So what were you doing with the car?
because I needed to get back and forth to work. I had children.
So you were driving illegally.
Correct. Yes, I was.
Not only were you driving illegally, but then you wanted to take out a loan on this car that you were driving illegally.
Yes.
So Mr. Simpson said, it's not his story actually, but he said, I'll help you out. I'll let you register the car in my name.
He needed money too.
I'll let you register the car in my name. And you've known him for a long time. So far, right?
That's right.
So you let him register the car in your name, you registered the car in your name, and you took out the loan.
Yes, ma'am.
And he didn't pay the loan back.
No, ma'am. He said we didn't have to pay the loan back.
Of course. I know. I just started out this case by saying, you know, when people start out with scams and you come in here and you say, oh, somebody help me, please, somebody help me.
We was helping each other.
Sure you were.
He helped himself.
I'm sure he did. Now, Mr. Simpson, who do you work for, sir?
I work for Munson & Son. I drive truck. At the time, I wasn't working at that time when I helped him out on this loan.
So at the time when you helped each other out, you weren't working?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you got some of the money, too.
No, I didn't get any of the money.
He's lying.
Oh, I believe that you got something for your help.
No, I didn't.
What did he get for his help?
He got $200.
And how much did you get?
I got $4.
Now, the only one that seems to me that got stiffed here is the loan company, because they didn't get paid back. Now, the name of the loan company is what?
Loan Max. I've got it, the paperwork right here.
Loan Max. You didn't pay him back, did you?
No, ma'am. But since I started work, I'm going to end up having to pay it.
Oh, well, you know, I may end up 5'8", but I doubt it. Why did you register the car in your name?
Well, one reason why is because he asked me to do him the favor. I put the car in my name, but I didn't know he didn't have license.
Yes, he did. Yes, you did.
No, I did
Yes,
not.
Just a second. Mr. Simpson, what possible reason could you have thought that he couldn't put the car in his name?
Well, he couldn't get the loan because nobody gave him the loan. He owed everybody.
That's not
No,
true. I don't owe nobody. You owe everybody.
Mr. Mack, I don't want to have to throw you out and then give him this money because he's not going to get the money. The only one that's going to get the money is the loan company.
Right.
So you got a total of $600, and if I believe the defendant, he took $4.
No, I did not take $2.
How
That's
much
a
did
lie.
you take? How much did you, Mr. Mack, get in total?
$400.
So could you explain to me, Mr. Simpson, why you are suing him for $1,500?
Well, actually, it's been amended because the late charges on it. Also, there's 2 tickets, parking tickets he got under my name.
2 parking tickets.
You know
listen
about
to
it.
me. I told
Don't
you to
play with
speak.
me.
Do you understand?
Yes, sorry.
Plus, if they'd have turned the car in like he was supposed to and let the people appraise it, it would have paid the loan off. You wouldn't have been 6, 7 months behind.
Where is the car, sir?
The car broke down and got towed.
And you haven't seen it since?
No.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. At best, if I believe any part of what you're telling me, you owe $400.
No, I don't.
Well, you explained to me, sir, I want you to try to put your listening ears on.
Mm-hmm.
You took out a loan on a car that didn't belong to you. I want you to be quiet. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
That's right.
Try to use them proportionately. From the proceeds of the loan, you took $400.
Correct.
That's what you told me.
It was my
How much
vehicle.
did you pay back?
I didn't pay back any. I didn't have to.
Why?
Because he said, you don't have to pay back anything. I'm not paying this back. I owe everybody else in town. So, you know, you're doing me a favor.
Just a second. So you got free money. I rarely met such an amoral person. I'm not even talking to him. Because my problem with you is you actually believe that you're right. My problem is it's hard for me to fathom that you actually believe that your position in any universe is valid. That you took money from somebody, a loan company, you spent it on yourself, you shoved it down your face, you put it on your red vest, you put it on your feet, whatever you did with it, and because you have a nice smile, you don't have to pay it back. You didn't work for it, you didn't drive a car, drive a truck, sweep a room, operate on somebody's kidney, you did no work for that $400.
Can I say something?
What?
I actually did. It was my vehicle. I bought it from a friend of mine, and it was my car. It was my car.
You're an idiot. Not just an amoral idiot.
Okay.
An amoral idiot.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's your car. You blew the car. It got towed. That's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
What does that have to do with the fact that Loan Max gave you $400?
Loan Max gave him the money.
No.
He handed it over to me.
Loan Max gave you the money. Listen to me. Thick. Loan Max gave you the money because that was your arrangement with him. Since you couldn't get a loan on the car because you couldn't register it, he registered it for you. I'm not giving him a thing. He was a co-conspirator in this whole thing. So he can pay back whatever.
It was his idea to get the
Shut up
$600
and
loan.
listen to me. That's what
It was
you told-
registered vehicle. It was registered in my friend's name.
Just listen to me. 2 years. Do you need more than 2 years?
No.
It couldn't be registered in your name because you had no license. It was registered, now you tell me, in this idiot's name. However, this idiot probably wouldn't take out a loan for you. So then you registered it in his name. And it wasn't just a question of registering it in his name, because the purpose of registering it in his name was to get a title loan because you needed money. He needed a little, and according to you, you needed a little. Your little was $400. That was the scheme.
It was my vehicle.
Oh, I can't think of another name. I really can't think of another name. Can you think of another name? You don't want to think of another name.
Moron.
It's bad enough. Moron.
Hey,
Perfect.
yeah, moron.
Perfect. The court is going to have a check cut to Loan Max for $400. Thanks very much. That's all.
Oh, you're excused. You may step out.
He planned all this himself.
Don's a liar.
You don't do favors for people.
I'm done with him. I've actually been done with him for a while.
You don't give co-sign for loans or none of that. You just don't do that.
Lesson learned. Don't mix friendship with business and friendship.
Don't do nothing. Don't even give them a ride if you don't have to.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter, Johnson versus Boland. Step forward.
Tracy and Claude Johnson are suing their former friend, Mary Boland, for the cost of their son's dental bills after he was injured while playing with Mary's daughter.
Well, if everybody behaves themselves, I'm not going to be yelling a lot. So I think that at least for the time being, I'm going to let the two children stay in the room. This is what this case was about. Several years ago, 2 years ago, yes. This is your son, and you were babysitting for this little girl who was the defendant's daughter. Yes. So far, we correct? So you were taking care of the two kids, and I assume you knew each other. It was a friendly babysitting arrangement, or was it arrangement for babysitting for money?
Friendly. I did it for money also.
Well, did you charge her money?
Yes.
So you were doing it as a job?
Yes.
So you were babysitting for her daughter as a job?
Yes.
How old are you now?
10.
Well, this happened in 2011, so she was 8?
She was 8.
How much money were you charging?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
I usually paid $100 every 2 weeks, just a flat fee.
Does that sound right to you?
Yes.
And how long had you been babysitting for her daughter?
Since kindergarten.
And one day while you were babysitting, it is your claim, and I don't think it's disputed, that the two children were playing, and this little girl, what were you playing?
Truth and Dare.
Truth and Dare. She chipped or broke his front tooth.
Yes.
And you believe that it's her mother's responsibility to pay for all of his dental work, including dental work that's done a couple of years later.
Yes.
Wrong. She wasn't negligent, and the only way I could find her responsible, especially when we're dealing with an 8-year-old, is if she in some way was negligent, but she wasn't. You were the one who was negligent. How would you think that she's responsible?
Your Honor, they were more like brother and sister, so they've...
If you didn't charge money, you'd probably have the same result. But in this case, you charged money, and the fee was to ensure that the children were adequately supervised, watched by you at all times.
Your Honor, that's true that, I mean, you take on a responsibility to watch a child, but when, they're 8-year-old kids, I mean, she has other kids that you have to...
That's not her problem. That's your wife's problem. Then she shouldn't have taken on the extra responsibility because she wanted the extra money. So if she felt because she had other children, she couldn't give these two children her full attention, then she shouldn't have taken on that responsibility, if that's your argument.
Well, she was in the kitchen preparing dinner because it was getting close to dinner time.
Were you at home?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
Where were you?
I was just coming home. I was getting
No, just a second. You're giving me a lot of baloney right now. I said, were you home?
Yes.
Where were you?
I was just coming home.
What does that mean, just coming home?
Coming home, taking my jumpsuit off, taking my boots off, I mean, getting into the house because I deal with a lot of metal and stuff like that, so I'm not trying to track metal in throughout my house.
So you didn't see what happened at all?
No, ma'am.
Great. Then don't tell me what happened. Do you understand the legal implication of what I just said to you?
It's understandable.
Of course it's understandable. She took on a job. Her job was to adequately supervise a child for money. And if that child was injured while she was watching her, it would be her responsibility, because an 8-year-old is playing truth or dare with another 8-year-old. How old were you 2 years ago?
I think I was 9.
How old are you now?
11.
That would be right. Math is not your strong thing?
A little bit.
8 and 9. Got to watch them. How old are your other children?
She's 5.
So you have one other child who was 3 then,
Yes.
a toddler. So when you said, sir, that you have other children, you meant one other child.
Yeah. You know, I mean, Christina basically was our third child. I mean, she did everything with us. She went camping with us. I took her fishing. Matter of fact, she tried to hang herself in our backyard, you know, accidentally, and I had to, you know, cut her down. She even...
Just a second. Is that when your wife was watching her for money? Just a second. That's a very serious question, sir. Did that occur when your wife was watching her for money?
No, ma'am.
Well, then you tell me when it happened, and I'll figure out when it happened.
It happened on the weekend because she watched her during the week, and then on the weekend sometimes she would ask to come over to play, to go swimming, to da-da-da-da.
Just a minute. She would ask who?
She would call me, or she would call...
You, or would her mother call?
Mainly she would call.
You know, your name is Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe a word you're telling me. And I'm telling you, that didn't sound right. Didn't hit my ears right. I'm sure it didn't hit her mother's ears right, and it didn't hit her ears right. And I'm telling you that if by accident or on purpose that child was injured while in your house, they would own your house. Because if at your house she hurt herself, that would be your fault.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They were in the back room, in my son's room, playing, and my son came out crying and said that Christina bopped him in the back of the head and popped his tooth out.
We were wrestling, and then I decided that she dared me first. So I dared him to drink out of the faucet. She said to lick the sink. I did. And then I thought it'd be funny to bop him on the back of the head, and then she bashed my head. And I did it, and he chipped his tooth.
I called the dentist, and we made an appointment for the dentist to come in for emergency and for his tooth to be fixed that day.
They're kids. Kids will be kids.
We really liked them, and they had a lot of fun with Christina, and they'd take her camping and do things of that nature, and we really do like them.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you know, I still like her, and, you know, she's more than welcome at my house.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hunter versus Kahase Mabratu. Step forward.
20-year-old Luis Hunter is suing fellow motorist, 17-year-old Sarah Mabratu, and her father, Kasete Kahase, for damage to his car when Sarah ran a stop sign.
What's your last name?
Mabratu.
How old are you?
17.
Where's your mother?
Right there.
You sit down. You stand up. Mr. Hunter, it is your claim that this young lady was driving a car, that she ran a stop sign, hit your car, you want her to pay for the damage on your car.
I'm actually suing for the blue book value for it as well, and towing fees.
On what date was the accident?
April 27th.
2013?
Yes.
You have a driver's license? Did you have a driver's license then?
Yes.
Were you cut under insurance?
We were under the impression that
Were you covered under insurance?
No.
Were you driving alone in the car?
Yes.
After the accident, what did you do?
I got out the car and we spoke.
And then what did you do?
His mother called the police.
And what did you do?
I just waited for my mom to come.
Well, how did your mother know to come?
I called her.
Did your mother arrive before or after the police?
Before.
And when your mother arrived, did she have a conversation with the plaintiff?
Yeah.
Is not an answer.
No.
Did anyone at any time ask the plaintiff to advise the police that you were not driving the car, but your mother was driving the car, is my question.
No. She said that she had wished that she was driving me to my volunteer work. Not that...
Not that what?
She didn't ask anyone to lie. She said that she wished that she was driving.
What did she say, Mr. Hunter?
Well, my mom can explain it to you better since her mom came to my mother and actually said it, so I'm not quite better.
Oh, so it was to your mother?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up.
He was next to me because I was out of the car, you know, when she pulled up. And the first thing she did, the mother, when she got out of the car, she came up and she asked her daughter, because her daughter was crying all upset, you know, what happened. And she was crying, you know, I never came down this road before. I didn't see the stop sign. I ran through it and I hit his car. Then the mom came over and she said to me, because we were real close, and she said, look, we've got full coverage on this car. It covers my husband and myself, but it doesn't cover my daughter. She said, can you lie to the police and say that I was driving so the insurance will cover it? And I told her, no, that's fraud. I'm not going to do that.
You didn't have insurance.
We do.
Not for her.
Yeah, I thought she was covered with the insurance.
But she wasn't.
She wasn't, yeah.
I'm sorry, this makes me upset because when you look at the accident, my son could have been killed and they knowingly letting their daughter drive in pouring down rain.
Sit down.
Okay.
Now you can sit.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Louise Hunter says fellow motorist Sarah Mabratu ran a stop sign and crashed into his car. Sarah claims the accident was Louise's fault.
All right, Mr. Hunter, let me hear your version of the accident, and I'd like to see a picture of your car.
All right.
As well as the police report.
All right. As I came off work, I woke up, got dressed, you know, usual. I was heading down the street. I didn't even go that far. I got to down the street.
Listen to me. I want you to speak slowly, as if you were speaking to an elderly deaf person. Because in actuality, you are a deaf person. And I don't understand this teenage talk, you know, when every word mumbles and together as if it's a veal stew. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry about that.
You see the way I'm articulating to you? You see here the way I had no problem understanding your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go for it.
Well, I woke up as usual. I got dressed and I was going down the street. I maybe probably like 2 or 3 minutes down from my house. There's a 4-way stop. So I got to the stop sign, do a complete stop as usual. And as I got middle, the defendant car came in pretty fast and just swiped the front of my car. And her car spun and my car slid. I just, you know, closed my eyes, you know, hope for the best. And then,
okay, your turn.
Well, I was going to volunteer work in the morning, and it was raining really hard. And since I was not familiar with the area, I was being really cautious. And then I came to an intersection. There was no cars around. I stopped. And then I continue to go. I'm almost at the other side, and then this car comes and hits my right side, and then I spin.
Great. Now I'll see the pictures of your car, see the pictures of your car.
Your Honor, too, in those pictures... Okay, I'm sorry.
There's the pictures. And
Were you in the car with him?
No, I was just going to tell you something about the stop sign.
Speak.
And also, Your Honor, I'm pretty sure you've seen it, but in the police report, she admits burning the stop sign on the police report in the back.
Oh,
I never admitted to that. The police is very
just a second.
biased.
Shh. I don't see where she admitted running the stop sign.
On the back, there's a statement where it is. She's right there. She goes, I'm unfamiliar, and I didn't see the stop sign.
Driver 2 stated she was unfamiliar with the area and drove through the intersection, hitting vehicle 1. It says driver 2 also stated that driver 1 didn't come to a complete stop. That's what the police said.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Now.
but the police did not give me a chance to speak. He threatened me and my dad with a ticket, and he was telling us...
Should have had a ticket. You had no insurance.
Yes, but we're here because he hit me, and he's claiming that I hit him.
I don't think that he hit you. I think that you went through the stop sign. I'm here because that's what they pay me for. And let me tell you something else. I would be slightly more sympathetic with you if you were driving a car that had insurance for you to drive. And you had no insurance. And I don't care whether you were going to visit a sick relative in the hospital or going to do volunteer work. You don't drive a car that you can't because you're not insured on it.
But if I hit him, then his left driver's side would be hit.
Oh, not necessarily, madam. And I don't care where he was hit. You went through a stop sign. That's actually what you say to the police.
But I did stop.
Mouth. Watch mine. That's what you really say to the police. I was unfamiliar with the road, and I went through the intersection. But in my defense, he didn't come to a complete stop. Which means if you were thinking about what you're saying, I went through the intersection because you wouldn't have gone through it if you knew there was a stop sign, right? You would have stopped at the stop sign.
But
you would have stopped at the stop sign, and you would have said to the police officer, I stopped at the stop sign because you're a smart girl. And when I went through and he went through the stop sign, that's not what you said. at all. So I don't care where his car was hit. You failed to stop at a stop sign. Period. That's what you told the police.
But he took advantage of me. I'm only 17 and I was crying and I was all over the place and I was distraught. And then I tried to talk to him again in private.
Child?
Excuse me?
Is she your only child? You have four. Is she the youngest or the oldest?
She's the second from...
Stop babying her. Or don't let her drive.
He wouldn't speak to me in private, the police. He spoke to Lewis in private, but then he spoke to me in front of everybody. So how's that?
Listen to me, madam.
That's not true. That is true.
Listen to me, madam. Who cares? It's not the issue.
I wasn't given the same thing as him, which is supposed to be done.
Who cares? You very clearly went through the stop sign. You mean if somebody said, why don't you sit down, let me get you a tissue? Can I get you a drink of water? Would you like a Diet Coke? And then you would feel better if you went through a stop sign. You were very clear about stop playing with your hair. You were very clear about what you said to the police officer. Very clear. And your mother was there already.
I tried to speak to him again and explain when I had calmed down, but he wouldn't listen to me. He was threatening me with a ticket. He was telling me not to speak.
Stop shaking your head. Your daughter shouldn't have been driving the car. You had no insurance for her to drive it. When did you purchase the car?
I'm not exactly sure on the dates, but I know...
Now you can stand up. When was the car purchased?
It was actually my car. I've had it since 2004. I sold it to him because I was making him make payments to me. And then once he finished making the payments, which happened to be in April, he finished paying me off in April.
Show me the payments.
Well, he owns the car now. He paid me $2,000, and the title, everything is in his name.
Right.
In April.
He paid you $2,000 for the car?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
You're kidding me.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I haven't driven by there many times, so I was unfamiliar, so therefore I was cautious.
I mean, somebody ran a stop sign, hit me, and, pretty much got away with almost attempted murder.
Well, the police didn't even give me a chance to speak. Like, I spoke to him in front of everyone.
Took both aside, they kept it separate, and they talked to us separate. They didn't talk to, us as a group, so.
I wasn't given the same due process Lewis Hunter and his mom were given.
I actually let her use my phone to make the call to the police to help her, and then call their mother, so I don't say how she was threatened at all.
I learned to not trust people, and I guess to always lie.
Be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Kaiser, while you were incarcerated, you allowed Miss Rosales, who was a friend of your girlfriend,
Yes, Your Honor.
to drive your car.
That's correct, Your Honor.
She had an accident with the car. The car was towed. You no longer have the car. You want her to pay for the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's pretty much what it's about. Ms. Rosales says that she did, in fact, have an accident with the car. The car was, in fact, towed. She was more than happy to get the car out of tow. However, she could not get the car out of tow because it wasn't titled in her name. It's not her responsibility. So let's start out with, when were you incarcerated?
In February of 2012, Your Honor.
For what?
A family matter.
You never incarcerated for a family matter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was it a domestic violence?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then it was an assault.
Yes.
So you were incarcerated for assault. Was it a violation of a protective order, or was it the assault itself?
It was the assault itself.
And who was the family member?
My girlfriend at the time.
Did you have a trial?
No, Your Honor. I pled to the charge.
No. You were incarcerated from February 2012 until when?
Till April 15th of 2013.
And how long did you know Miss Rosales?
That time, approximately 2 months, give or take.
So in February of 2012, you had known her for 2 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, why did you give her permission to use your car?
I was asked to do so at the bequest of my girlfriend at the time.
She asked you if she could use the car. The question is, why did you give her permission to use the car?
Because the vehicle was going to sit and no one was going to use it. I saw no harm in letting her use the vehicle, as long as she had the vehicle fully insured, which I believe she was going to be done with.
Did you ever see proof of insurance?
No, Your Honor, because I was incarcerated.
You did not see proof of insurance. When you had the car, did you have insurance?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Did you cancel your insurance?
Yes, Your Honor,
Do you
I
have
did.
any proof of that?
Not with me, Your Honor.
Well, where did you think you were coming today?
I didn't think the proof of my insurance really mattered.
It is. Of course it matters. Now, do you have proof that you insured the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. When was your accident?
March 10th, 2012.
And tell me about the accident, because the car then was insured by you at that time.
Correct.
Tell me about the accident.
I was taking home one of Berdine's friends, and upon going underneath an underpass, a vehicle should have taken a right, decided to go north on the freeway, and I ended up under the underpass, broke left, and T-boned the vehicle.
And what?
I had turned left to not hit the vehicle, so we collided on the corner of the engine.
Was the car totally damaged?
Front end damage on the passenger side only.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. May I say something? I saw the vehicle after.
I didn't ask you anything. Now, in order to get the insurance on the car, is there anything that you had to present to the company?
No, ma'am. I actually added it onto my insurance, which was covering another vehicle at the time.
The VIN number on this car is what VIN number?
It would match the registration that's in my hand as well.
I'd like to see that. And I'd also like to see the title to the car.
All I got is just a copy of the registration. The title of the car was...
Title?
The title of the car that is no longer in my possession.
Where is it?
The actual title of the vehicle was in the apartment that she lived in. It was in my file box underneath the TV.
Did you communicate that to her?
I made that apparently available to Miss Riggs over here, the information via a letter.
Okay. Now, since they could have the title, but they're not you...
Yes, ma'am.
They couldn't go and retrieve that unless they had some sort of authority from you.
That is correct, Your Honor.
What did you get to her?
I got a notarized letter to Miss Riggs stating the fact that she could do anything and everything to the vehicle that needed to be done in order to retrieve.
I'd like to see that.
I believe Tammy has the actual...
I'd like to see it. Oh, this doesn't give her... Is this what you're talking about?
There should be a letter in there just giving her information to retrieve items from the vehicle and whatever else.
That's what it says.
Yes.
It doesn't give her permission to get the vehicle.
I was told the vehicle was totaled and the insurance company was going to take care of it.
I don't know about that.
I have a letter that was
Did you
written
get
to me.
money from the insurance company?
No, ma'am. Neither
This
party
doesn't...
did.
Listen to me, Mr. Kaiser. This doesn't give anybody permission to get the car out of impound. This was signed by you July 18th,
Yes, Your Honor.
2012, and this says, I give permission to Beth Riggs, is that you?
Yes, Your Honor.
To remove any and all property that she feels should be removed from the 2002 Saturn. As I am the solo owner of the car and I can't do it myself, Miss Riggs can remove anything that she thinks is of importance to her or anyone that may be with her.
Yes, Your Honor. Because the letter that I received from Miss Riggs told me that the vehicle was totaled out.
Okay.
And I have that
Does
letter.
somebody have a copy?
I have
I'd like
that
to see
letter
that
right here.
letter.
And I was going off that information that I received.
By the way, did you have collision or just liability on the car?
Liability only at the time.
Liability. Okay. Got it. Well, it's a 2002 car. You were driving the car. It's your responsibility. You didn't have collision insurance, which means that they weren't going to pay for any damage to the car or the car itself. What they would pay for is if she had an accident and hurt somebody. That's the difference between... I'm sure you had the same
Yes,
kind of
Your Honor.
insurance. Okay. Mr. Kaiser, when did you purchase this car allegedly from your mother?
That would have been in June of 2011.
And at that time, the car had 150 some odd thousand miles on it.
152, 251, yes.
Okay, so Bert, could we look up, please, the value of a 2002 Saturn that had probably, let's say, 180,000 miles on it by the time it was in the accident?
This is a truck. What
Yes.
kind of-
It falls under the truck category, yes.
2002 body model type, it says UT.
Utility? Okay.
Give me all the numbers, please.
Okay. 2100.
Mhm.
That's private party good.
Mm-hmm.
Trading good is 1200. Very good is
Now, is that with the all-wheel drive, which this vehicle was, the V6?
all-wheel drive.
Okay.
Because according to Kelly Blue Book value here, which I'm looking at that I printed up this morning, the actual vehicle value is $3,815 in good condition. Excellent condition is $39.65, and fair is $23.65.
Were you looking at the same car? 2000. Saturn model type UT.
Those are the numbers I'm getting.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
When I gave the vehicle to Miss Rosales,
I was taking her friend home when I was in the collision.
I was told that she was an excellent driver, not to worry about the vehicle.
I ended up with some hand damages in the end.
Just pretty much that my vehicle was told out.
I'm done.
I just moved forward from here.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Watman versus Edwards. Step forward.
19-year-old J. Lee Watman is suing former roommates-to-be Tommy Edwards and his 16-year-old daughter Cheyenne for the return of rent. J. Lee says the defendants were evicted from the home before she ever moved in.
Mr. Edwards, I'm going to start with you.
Yes, sir.
This is your daughter.
Yes.
You and your daughter were living together in an apartment. Your daughter is 16.
Correct.
You had work or something that required you to move out of that apartment from one city to another?
I travel.
So you were leaving the apartment. How short?
5 days at a time. Come home on the weekend.
At one point, you told your daughter that if she got a responsible adult, she could stay in the apartment because the choice was either leaving this apartment and she would have to go. Are you her mother?
I am.
She'd have to go and live with her mother. She didn't want to live with her mother. She wanted to stay in the apartment. So far as that, what's your first name?
Cheyenne.
Is that about right?
Yes.
So you found Miss Watman. How did you find her?
We have mutual friends.
What did you do? Did you put out the word that you were looking for someone who was over 18?
Julie and I were talking about our lives and updating each other, and I told her that
What's
I
your
was
first
looking...
name?
Jaylee.
So you were talking to each other?
Yeah.
On the phone or through texting?
Text.
Through texts?
Yeah.
And?
I said, I'm looking for a roommate, and she said, well, I just so happen to be looking somewhere to move out to.
And in what month was that?
I believe it was in June.
June of 2013?
Yes.
And where do you live?
I live in Ogden, Utah.
And where was your father going?
To work in California.
To work where?
California.
Doing what?
Pumping concrete.
And how long was he expected to be gone?
He said that he would be coming back on the weekends, and we don't know how long he would be gone at a time. But he didn't work on weekends, so he would come down and then go back.
You mean fly from Utah to California and back?
Yes.
That must be a very good job to pay for that. Round trip airfare every weekend. That doesn't sound like something that I believe at all. Did she come and look at the apartment?
Yes.
When did she come and look at the apartment?
I was working, so I'm not sure when. I just left her the key.
Where did you leave her the key?
Underneath a mat that was by the apartment door.
She did not leave the key. It was on June 27th, the day that I went to look at the apartment, and I had to go to her work to go get the key.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah, huh? You know, I mean, I may be losing my memory. I'm 70 years old. How old are you? You're 16.
Yes.
You should remember what happened in June. We're only talking a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You got to spend time thinking and not blowing out your hair. Now, let's go back. She came to look at the apartment, and she got the key from whom?
I guess she came to my work.
Not guess. I want you to think.
So she did come to my work because I had forgotten it. I didn't remember that.
You were supposed to leave it under the mat?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Got to start thinking. Now, had your father left already?
Yes.
So he was in California?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
When had he left?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, let's think. Was it a week before, 2 weeks before, 2 days before, a day before? I want you to start to put on your thinking cap.
Okay.
When did he leave the cap? Don't speak to her.
Just trying to help her remember, that's all.
No, I don't want you to help her do anything. If you wanted to help her, you wouldn't leave a 16-year-old in an apartment by themselves. That's helping.
It was somewhere in the month of June. It wasn't too long after he had left that I was looking for a roommate.
How much money did Miss Watman give you?
$300.
And she was supposed to move in July?
Yes.
Did she?
No.
Why not?
I got evicted.
I want you to tell me how that worked out. Who told you you were evicted, or did you come home and find the locks off?
A lawyer called me that day. She said you have an hour to get your belongings out until an officer comes to change your locks.
And you knew nothing about it?
No.
You sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
And when your father left for California, was the arrangement that you were supposed to stay in the apartment or go to live with your mother?
I was going to stay in the apartment and continue going to school and working.
Well, that sounds so strange because your father left the same month, so I would have assumed that your responsible father who left you alone in the apartment paid June's rent, right?
Yes.
What were you being evicted for?
Not paying rent.
Well, how could you not pay rent if he paid June's rent?
He didn't pay the rent.
Why not? You were still there, according to your daughter. No answer. Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused and they step out. Probably a good decision. I mean, the girl who gave my daughter $300, she deserved to have that refunded back.
It's great, and she made the best decision. Everything was fair.
It was ridiculous, and I only found out about it about a week prior to this happening, that she was even there without him. It was ridiculous.
Why didn't you go get her?
I had no idea you weren't
ridiculous.
I was planning on moving in the following weekend, but that day she told me she got evicted.
And it was $2,600, so that's 5 months of rent that he didn't pay. It's not like he just didn't pay one rent month.
As far as Judge Judy, of course, as usual, she always makes the right decision.
Today, it kind of seems like the whole story went together, that it was a scam because she was trying to get me to move in as soon as possible by the end of the month, and then she got evicted, so it makes sense.
Morning, you may be seated.
Be very simply so that we have this case in context. You were riding one of the camels that was provided to you by this organization, and the camel fell. You fell, you were injured, and you feel as if they owe you money because the excess insurance policy, according to you, was explained to you.
That's correct,
That's
Your Honor.
pretty much your case. So I really want to find out who the defendant is.
Your Honor?
Yes.
The camel races are actually the Virginia City International Camel Races, and we, the International Order of Camel Jockeys, we show up every weekend to help. It's not our event. It's Virginia City, Nevada's event.
We are the participants.
Will you explain that to me, would you?
Yes, there's 225 members, Your Honor.
Of this organization?
Of this organization.
And the organization is comprised of people who are interested in camel racing.
Yes, exactly.
Do you own your own camels?
Not anymore, Your Honor.
Did you at the time of this accident?
No, there was a stock provider.
From whom did you rent or lease your camel on the date of this incident?
It was my understanding that the International Order of Camel Jockeys is the sanctioning body for this event. And
Just a second. I don't care what's your understanding. I read your complaint. You're a lawyer. So you're charged with, in my view, a higher duty than a layperson in reading appropriate documents. So I don't care what your understanding is. Did you have a contract with any one of these three people?
The contract was with the International Order of Camel Jockeys, I believe, Your Honor.
No. Not I believe. Show me the contract that you had with...
Yes, ma'am.
Harrington Erickson.
Your Honor, there's a copy of the policy.
No, just a second. International Order of Camel Jockeys.
That's us.
That's you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it a corporation?
It's a non-profit organization established in 1972.
And who's the president of the organization?
At the time of the accident, I was.
Okay. And your name is?
Michael Wright.
And who represents them?
Who represents the officers?
International Order of Camel Jockeys.
The officers of the organization. We purchase our own insurance.
Okay.
We do what the stock provider wants us to do.
No, don't tell me.
Okay.
You purchased this Berkeley Life and Health Insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time of this incident, you were the president of the organization.
Exactly.
Perfect. Then I don't mind dealing with you, sir. You actually might even be the right person to deal with. Okay. When did this incident take place, Mr. Chase?
September 10th, 11th, and 12th of 2011. That was the racing weekend. My actual crash occurred.
Was it the first time that you had ever been to the races?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who brought you there?
Who encouraged me to attend?
Yeah. Did you go with anybody?
Yes, my friends Angie and Nancy.
That would be these two ladies?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how did you know them?
We work together.
Where?
They are court staff, and I'm, as you're aware, I'm an attorney, I'm a prosecutor, and I see them on a regular basis.
Well, then tell me how you became familiar with through them.
They have been attending for a long time. Both serve as officers on the International Order of Camel Jockeys board, and they've talked about it before, said how much fun it was, encouraged me to attend.
No, they invited you to attend.
Yes, Your Honor.
They invited you to attend.
Yes.
Don't do stupid legalese with me, sir, because, you know, I dance around stupid legalese, and sometimes on it. They invited you to attend, and how old are you?
44 now.
44 years old, and at that time you were 42 years old in your midlife. And you said, gee, that sounds like fun, I'd like to try it. And you arrived on the 10th. Did you go on the 10th?
When you say go, do you mean did I ride?
Yes.
I rode, media day I believe was the 10th. That was the first day.
So you rode on the 10th.
No, I'm sorry. I believe I rode on the 9th was media day and my crash occurred on the 10th.
So you rode on the 9th?
Yes.
Without incident?
Yes.
Now, before you got on the camel, did anybody ask you to sign any sort of a disclaimer?
The process...
You hear a question?
Yes, Your Honor.
I ask a question, you give me the answer. You want to expand on your answer, you go on Dr. Phil. Me, you just give me the answer. Did anyone ask you to sign a disclaimer?
There was a liability waiver, yes.
I'd like to see it.
I don't have a copy of that, Your Honor.
Why not?
There was not a copier at the scene.
So there was not a copy, but you signed a liability waiver?
Yes, Your Honor, with the stock provider.
Just a second. Do you have a copy of that?
Of the liability?
The liability
waiver was issued by the stock provider for his liability.
From the people who provide the camels?
Exactly.
Okay. So you don't, because you just organize the event.
My people come in and do the writing. We are the writers.
We're basically a club.
Then why do you provide insurance? You mean you provide this as a courtesy for people who ride?
Exactly, Your Honor. We started purchasing this about 15 years ago. One of the secretaries said, wouldn't it be nice to have more insurance for everybody who might need it if they wanted to file the claim? So we started doing it.
So you're just the riders. You all ride.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, tell me about your injury, sir, that took place the next day.
I suffered a broken clavicle. It was significantly displaced. I had to have 2 surgeries. The first one put a plate in, and the second removed the plate.
Teach you to ride camels. You know, I'm actually 70 years to survive all of my life without riding a camel. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not big on camel riding.
See that? Bird and I have almost centuries between us. We've managed to get along without it. I also don't do motorcycles. Understand? You assume certain risks when you ride a dangerous beast. So, and you understood those risks. It's like horseback riding. You can fall off a horse, and you can break an ankle or fall off a horse and break your spine. And that's what you do. If you want to ride a horse badly enough, you assume those risks. Now, don't write me letters. I don't want to hear letters from camel lovers. Am I right? Are they supposed to be dumb?
Camels?
Yeah.
No. Not really.
No, not any dumber than camels.
If they don't want to run, they're just going to sit there. You're not going to have a race.
Stubborn. Okay.
Exactly.
Stubborn. Maybe smart. Anyway, so you fell off and you injured yourself, which was your fault, nobody else's fault. You got on the camel. Camel did what camels do, and you fell off. And then you had insurance, and this policy, according to what I read, was a $10,000 policy in addition to your other insurance.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to answer this question for me, Mr. Chase. Be careful of your answer. How much money did Berkeley Life and Health Insurance Company pay towards your injuries?
$10,000.
That's what I gathered from reading these papers, although you weren't exactly clear in the amount that they paid. But I sort of reading through your complaint, I said, you know what, sounds to me like he had $10,000 from Berkeley. This is you. $10,000 went from Berkeley to you. Then why are we here?
So we're here. Is that a question, Your Honor?
Yeah, that was a question. Then you tell me why we're here.
We're here because at the time we signed up, I was told that it was a supplemental policy.
You can't. Just a second.
Yes?
Hearsay. You know what hearsay is?
Yes, but this is a statement by a party opponent.
Just
so
a
it's
second.
accepted hearsay.
Just a second. Who are you referring to? Not I was told.
Mr. Wright.
Mr. Wright told you, go ahead.
That it was a supplemental policy.
Yes.
And a supplemental policy, a non-primary policy, pays the gap coverage instead of paying as a...
No, just a second. How do you know that, sir? Because?
Because I've done the research on insurance.
No, just a second. Because you've done the research when?
After the injury, after they started rejecting the claims.
Did you have any questions about this policy?
Yes.
at the time you were going camel riding.
Yes.
So first of all, did you pay for this policy?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much?
It was a $20 membership fee that included the coverage.
$20 membership fee for?
To join the International Order of Camel Jockeys.
Show me where the $20 fee included your insurance.
I have no
I just want to see it. I just want to see that the $20 fee that he says...
He's on the roster, Your Honor, as a member.
Yes.
And we included off to the side of his name that he paid his $20 as a paid member in good standing. And
show me.
The roster?
I just want to see what it says.
Oh.
I didn't bring the
You
roster.
didn't bring the roster?
Well, what does it say, sir? And then you...
It has his name, his email, his phone numbers. It has a standing as a rookie rider, rookie 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it has off to the side, it says dues paid. He's in that column.
What does it say about insurance on that page?
If you're not a riding member, you only pay $10 to join the organization. If you're a riding member, to cover the premium policy that we pay for, we charge the riders in the arena 10 extra bucks.
Okay, so if you are a riding member, you pay $20.
Yes, ma'am.
And dollars for this policy.
Yes, ma'am.
Which pays $10,000 towards your injury.
Exactly.
And it paid $10,000 towards his injury.
It did.
Keep going, Mr. Chase. You now have another 30 seconds.
So, Your Honor, they represent before you ride that you have to have your own primary insurance coverage. We have to provide proof. I provided proof.
Just shut. Did you say that to him?
It's part of the...
Did you say that to him? He said you told him that he had to have proof of primary insurance.
Actually, the stock provider said it, Your Honor.
No, the stock
Not
provider.
me.
Shh.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says his collarbone was broken during a camel race. He is suing organizers Mike Wright, Angie Erickson, and Nancy Harrington for his injuries.
Just listen to me very carefully. There's hearsay and there's not hearsay. If you're a party and the two of you are having a conversation, you can tell me about that. But if you're talking about the people that provided the camels saying that to him, that's hearsay. That's not introducible. So is what you're saying to me, sir, that Mr. Wright told you that or someone else?
I'm saying that Mr. Wright told me that I was required to have insurance before I rode camels.
Did you ever say that to him?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, don't believe you. Keep going. Next.
So after providing proof of my insurance, they said your membership in the International Order of Camel Jockeys includes the supplemental policy.
Good. And you filled out the forms wrong. And your company didn't pay. You had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of insurance costs. You want them to pay you another $5,000. That's not going to happen. Mr. Chase, this policy paid you $10,000. Should have filled out the papers right.
Your Honor, it's not a matter. Your Honor, it's not a matter of the paper being filled in correctly.
You paid for $10,000 worth of insurance, Mr. Chase. You got $10,000 from this column.
They misrepresented the nature of the policy, and therefore...
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We were racing. My camel, Boris, finished with past the line.
I witnessed a good race and the handler reaching up to catch the camels.
One of the stock handlers comes out, grabs his lead line, pulls him to the ground.
And the camel tripping and going down.
And as a result of that, we crashed and I broke my clavicle.
Mr. Chase launching himself off the camel to try not to get underneath it.
Oh yeah, I probably won't be riding camels, but they're still my friends.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Gravel. Step forward.
21-year-old Tyshundra Smith is suing her foster mom, Natalie Ravel, for stealing money from her, including her state checks.
How old are you, Miss Smith?
I'm 21.
Miss Ravel, you were Miss Smith's foster mother for a while. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
How long?
Since she was 13.
Not true. If you shout out again, I don't know where you think you are.
Apologize.
Great. Perfect. Now, you applied, Miss Smith, for Social Security disability.
Yes, ma'am.
At what age?
18.
Why?
My asthma.
And do you currently receive Social Security disability?
As of now, I do. Yes, ma'am.
And how much do you receive?
Now I receive $17 monthly. When the case first happened, the situation, I was receiving $545.
Now, it is your claim that the first check that you received was a check that had accumulated payments to you. So that check was $2,200 and change.
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Ravel had it made direct pay to her account.
Yes, ma'am.
And she only gave you half of that check.
Yes, ma'am.
So you want the other half of the check.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you agree to let Miss Ravel have the check direct deposited into her account?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
How did that come about?
The day that the check was going into her account on September the 3rd, she called me after she had already done it.
Were you living with her at the time?
No, ma'am.
Were you staying with her?
No, ma'am.
Well, then how could she have had any information whatsoever about the...
She has all my information from the time all my information, Social Security number, my child's information, everything.
Not true,
Just a second. You have a child?
I have two. I just had a newborn 2 weeks ago.
That's not true, Your Honor. Yes.
Just let me understand this.
Yes.
You have two children. How old are they?
I have a 7-year-old and I have a almost 2-year-old. He was born December the 7th.
And where do they live?
Well, my oldest son stays with his grandmother.
So the baby lives with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else lives with you?
My godmother.
And what does she do for a living?
She cooks at a nursery home.
So she works?
Yes, ma'am.
So you take care of the baby yourself?
Yes, ma'am. As far as diapers, formula, and everything, I take care of them.
Then my question is, why are you getting disability? You
Ma'am?
take care of an infant. That's really hard work. I remember taking care of an infant. That's harder work than most jobs. So my question is relative to how can you take care of a baby if you're too disabled to work?
I can't work. I mean, I tried. Every job I get, I basically have to quit because of my asthma. I end up having an asthma attack at work or something slight like that. And I end up getting pregnant and just recently had a baby. It's hard.
Well, getting pregnant, you don't end up getting pregnant because you can't work.
No, that has nothing to do with it. I think I can work. It's just hard staying on the job for a long amount of time.
Well, it's hard for most people to work, but that doesn't mean you apply for disability. Disability is a whole different thing. Disability means that the federal government and the people of this country believe that you are too sick to work. People who are too sick to work usually can't take care of an infant, can't take care of the rigors of the house. Don't put your hand up. I'm not interested in your hand. Do you understand?
Yes,
Don't put your hand up. Now, I'm going to take care of this case very fast.
Yes.
Because right now I'm telling you I'm unsympathetic over here. Now, just tell me why you think you're entitled to half her money that the government gives her.
Me and her had an agreement. I pay her life insurance. She has COPD.
What does she need life insurance for?
Because they have had to resuscitate her.
What does she need?
Because the last time they had to resuscitate her, she was like, I'm going to die, Mom. She called me Mom. I'm going to die, Mom. So I've been got her some life insurance.
Just a second. Why does she need? She's 18 years old.
Because she thought she was going to, because nobody has a way to bury her. So you got to have a finance.
Who's the beneficiary of the life insurance policy?
Myself. Myself.
Good. Listen to me. Listen to me. Unsympathetic to you.
That's fine.
So you paid her life insurance, which you were the beneficiary for a foster child. I never heard of something so ridiculous in my life. Put your hand down. What else do you think she owes you for other than life insurance that you took out on your foster child when you're the beneficiary?
I've helped her on several occasions.
Who cares? Who cares? You
everything.
can't keep her money. Well, you can't keep her money. Actually, you can't keep my money. Or you can't keep Bird's money, Miss Revelle.
Well, I don't owe her.
You owe her $1,100. Judgment for the plaintiff. You know what? Having babies is very hard. It's as hard as working. You can get an easier job than you can taking care of a baby. So next time you have to make a choice between having a baby and getting a job, I choose getting a job. That's all.
Thank you. Excuse me, step out.
I don't have anything bad to say about her. I wish her well.
Miss Revelle felt that she wasn't entitled to pay me back.
We're raising those 2 kids and get a job.
I pressed charges. I went forth with pressing charges.
Get off disability, like she said.
Because I didn't give her permission to get my money deposited into her account.
Lies again. But it is what it is.
We haven't talked, since this happened, and I'm better off.
Oh, we have washed our hands. My family have washed their hands with her.
Time for me to go my own way.
You have to be careful and mindful of who you have.
Came out.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Davis. Step forward.
23-year-old Kenesha Davis is suing her sister, Shamika Davis, for totaling her car. Shamika is countersuing for damages she claims Kenesha caused to her car.
Miss Davis, this is your sister. She borrowed your car. She had an accident, according to you, and your sister doesn't deny the fact that she totaled your car, and you want her to compensate you. Your sister says, well, she did total the car, but then you knew she didn't have any money, so that you made an arrangement with her that you could use her car whenever you wanted it, and so that you could save up to buy a new one. And then she has a ridiculous counterclaim that while you were using her car, you left it messy. which is going to be dismissed. I think I'll do that now, so save myself trouble. Now, tell me about when you borrowed your sister's car.
Me and my sister switched cars in October.
Why?
We were both moving at the same time, and I have a truck, so she was using my truck to move. We had each other's car for about 2 weeks before the accident.
And what happened with her car?
Well, me and her met up on Halloween. We took the kids trick-or-treating.
She and I met on Halloween.
She and I met up together to go trick-or-treating with the kids. She went her way with my truck, and I had her car. It was raining really bad that day. I went on the freeway to go home. I was going around a dead man's curb. This car tried to cut in front of me because I was going too slow, because it was raining. I had a hit-and-run accident with her car.
Show me the police paperwork. Okay. So you had the accident. Were the police called?
Yeah, the police were called.
Fine. What kind of insurance did you have on your car?
I had liability insurance. It covers any car that I drive.
Were your children okay after the accident?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you purchase this car?
I bought it February 2013.
And this accident was when?
The day of Halloween, October 31st, 2013.
And how much did you pay for the car?
I paid $2,500 for the car originally.
And it's a 2003
Dodge Stratus.
Would you look that up for me, please? 2003 Dodge Stratus.
Got it.
Car was totaled?
Mm-hmm.
Sedan?
4-door.
2100.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me? Go ahead.
Well, basically, I don't think I owe her a dime because we had a verbal agreement. She knew I couldn't afford to buy her another car at the time. So she asked me, can she borrow my car until she can get, money for another car, which I did. She had my car for almost a month. She was dropping me off everywhere. And she purchased another car. She had got a Grand Prix. And then within weeks, I guess it got repoed, and now she's trying to sue me for the car. Your Honor, that's not true.
Wait. The fact that your sister says my sister doesn't have any money, so you can't get blood from a turnip, doesn't mean for her car being totaled, because I don't have anybody's statement here except yours that you were hit by another car. As far as I know, you were going too fast and you spun out.
It was raining really bad that night. I was going slow. You're supposed to go 40 miles an hour.
When did it start
raining? It was raining the whole night, like all day.
So what did you go out for? Whole night, whole day, raining hard. What'd you go out for with your two children,
me and her,
8 and 4? Listen,
met.
if it's raining that hard that you can't see and you're going 40 miles an hour, stay home with your two children, age 8 and 4. Who could have been killed in the car if you say it was that dangerous. And if it wasn't that dangerous, somebody caused the accident. One thing I know for sure, it was not her. She's suing you for less than what she paid for the car. She's suing you for $1,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. Your nonsense counterclaim is dismissed, as I said before.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just upset that she didn't even give me a chance to tell her about the damages that were done to my car while she had it.
I'm happy. I think that it was fair. I think Judge Judy made the right decision.
The door panel was completely off, the alignment, and I had to get the brakes redone.
Honestly, I mean, it was a little messy. I didn't really mess up the door. It was already like that when I got it. There was nothing wrong with her Jeep that I did.
We don't talk at all anymore.
I mean, we don't talk, but, I mean, that's really it. Everything else is fine.
I hope we can be cool. Be sisters like we're supposed to be.
But she gives me a hug.
Wow.
Maybe seated. Sir, have a seat.
Herb, would you do me a favor?
Sure.
Would you take this little boy out in the back? Is there somebody in the back who can watch him?
Most definitely.
Go with Officer Bird. He's going to take you in the back.
Okay. Come this way.
Terrific. You never know what's going to transpire here, Mr. Warren. I assume that's your son?
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't think there's any reason for him to be here. Case is not a terribly difficult one. You rented a room in Mr. Warren's home for your son. I assume this is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
How far does Mr. Warren live from where you live?
Approximately a mile.
And how old is your son?
23.
Has your son lived with you in the past?
Yes.
For how long?
He's been living with me since May of this year.
Since May of 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to that, where was he living?
He had an apartment in the northern suburbs of Minneapolis.
And how long did he live in his apartment?
About 2-3 years.
With whom?
He lives with his girlfriend and baby.
So he has a child?
Yes, he does.
Does he work?
Yes.
At what?
He is a cook in a restaurant in town.
Who do you live with?
My significant other.
One other person. Do you have a house and a...
I have a townhome.
Just because I'm curious, why would you rent a room in a stranger's home for a 23-year-old when you have your own home?
Because my son needs to learn some responsibility and be out on his own, not living with his mother.
Well, that's true, but that usually comes with being able to afford it.
Yes.
Because you're the plaintiff in this case, and this is your claim. You found this room.
Yes.
You went and looked at the room in Mr. Warren's home, paid him $1,000.
Yes.
And several days later, Mr. Warren changed the locks on the doors, excluding your son from being in the apartment.
This is
or
correct.
in his room.
Yes.
You want your rent back.
Yes.
Mr. Warren says that your son didn't follow the house rules. That's why he excluded him from the house. Therefore, since he breached the rules, he doesn't get the rent back. That's your defense.
It is.
Great. When did you rent the room and when did you give him the money?
We gave him the money in late October because my son was going to move in November 1st, 2013. And I gave him $1,000.
He doesn't deny that, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Good. Now I'd like to see a copy of the lease.
I do not have a copy of the lease. This was
Well,
all
I'd like to see the original lease.
There was no lease. It was done on a handshake, and
Yes.
and being that I work for the veterans, I still believe that a handshake
Just a
is...
second. I don't care whether you did it with or without a piece of paper. But if there were certain prescriptions, Mr. Warren, about rules in the House, that, in my judgment, has to be clear and understood. And the best and, in my judgment, only way to do that is in writing, where you present the rules, you sign them, he signs them, and the rules say that if you break the rules, you don't get your money back. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
All right. So now we know how many days after the plaintiff's son moved in did you exclude him from the house?
It was approximately 5 days.
And how much was the rent per month?
$500.
So she gave you 2 months' rent.
So he gave me $500 for first month and a $500 security deposit.
Okay. And there is no suggestion here at all that he damaged any of your property.
No.
So that should go back to her. At least the security deposit part of it should go back to her.
I don't believe so.
Why?
Well, the $500 in my understanding is to allow me 30 days to re-rent the room in case.
Okay. Mr. Warren, for a living, sir?
I do Venetian plaster.
You have your own company?
Yes.
You have employees?
Yes.
How many?
3.
Do you pay them on the book or off the books?
Either way.
What do you mean, either way? What
Either
does that
way.
mean? You mean some get paid by check where you deduct all the
Depends on the
relevant
individual.
taxes and
Depends on the individual and his circumstances.
Depends on the individual and the circumstances. Well, then you have this sort of easy way about rules with your business. Sometimes you comply with the rules and sometimes you don't comply with the rules. In the case of the Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Warren, they have a book of rules that starts there and ends there. So they have a very clear set of rules, Mr. Warren, unlike the rules in your household now, or requiring 30-day notice. So I don't care what your understanding is of a security deposit. If you wanted the security deposit to be for 30 days to re-rent the room under any circumstances, then you put it in a written lease.
Absolutely.
Which you didn't do. So that's number one. Most people believe that a 30-day notice, even if you had been entitled to a 30-day notice, is when the tenant says to you, I'm moving out, as opposed to you're kicking them out. If you kick them out, how can they give you a 30-day notice? That's kind of hard, right?
Yeah.
So you see how foolish you sound, Mr. Warren. You see why I excluded your kid from the courtroom?
Sure.
Right. Because even I would feel somewhat compelled to restrain myself in the presence of your child. But when I read your answer to this case and you said I kicked them out, and I did kick them out in 5 days, and I kept their money.
Yeah,
I said, this is not, I don't understand this. So now you know where I'm coming from, Mr. Warren. Now you have 30 seconds to convince me about your defense. I'm all ears.
My defense would be the 30-day notice. It didn't allow me 30 days to, to have the room rented, to put the ad back in to the paper, to have at least 30 days, which, it cut me down to about 3 weeks. Smoking in the back bedroom, and, there were rules. There were no written rules, but they were very, very verbalized and very understood among the both of them. And they were.
Why do you want to tell me about them, sir? They were understood by you. I mean, I'm not saying that he was right. Clearly, his mother wants him to be responsible, so she wants him out of her house.
Has never smoked in a house.
Don't speak. Don't speak.
Yes,
you know, I want to tell you something. I get it, but I also get moving my 23-year-old irresponsible child, 23-year-old irresponsible child who has a kid who's 23 and looking for his mother to pay his rent. Do you understand? I get the whole picture over here. You still got to give you your money back. All right, so I've explained to you, let's deal with the 30 days. I've already explained to you that only applies to tenants. It doesn't apply to landlords locking out their tenants. Do you understand? All right. Next, he's smoking in the back bedroom, and that was against your rules. What's next?
The circumstance amongst us living is my son and I live together. We're very involved with sports. We do it all week long, and we're just consumed with it. It's my son and I. The circumstance that he was in, he's got a son, a young son, around the same age or a couple of years younger. I thought that this would be a good fit for him, you know, to allow him to... Faster?
Rules. I want to know rules. This is not a therapy session.
No smoking in the house. Nobody other than himself could be a tenant in the house. I mean, I don't want to rent to a couple.
And
the first 3 days he was there, he had what appeared to be an underage girl, very, very young.
I don't want you to speak.
All right.
Because, A, you don't know that. You don't know that if it was a girl, if it was an underage girl, if he had a girl there or not, because you weren't there. If you want to know if he had a girl in his room, you should have let him stay in your house.
Oh, no, thank you. No,
I
won't have that. I won't have that in my house.
Neither did he. Neither did he want that in his house. Come on, keep going.
So I didn't want to rent to a couple.
I got you. You didn't want to rent to a couple.
He's in the back bedroom with a girl.
Fooling around, messing around in the bedroom with your kid around. Got it.
And
what's next?
Smelling
and
smoke.
Sports and smoking and everything else. Don't rent to anybody. And if you do, set out the rules. These are the house rules. If you violate the rules, we're going to terminate the tenancy. That's what you do. That's what you do. But you can't deal with a tenant like you deal with the IRS, sir. You have to return her money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Ladies are excused. You may step out.
You know, just all the women that he was having, I think he's, you know, a part-time gigolo.
Only one. And honestly, of the 3 days that I was there, I probably spent the night there once with her.
I just think that she needs to, you know, stop enabling him, and he needs to be responsible and an adult now.
Yes, because he's 23, he needs to be out on his own.
Definitely be a written contract.
We have learned something from this, and that he knows that he needs to have things in writing.
Products.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2114, Berdasky versus West.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you pronounce your last name for me?
Bernadaschi.
Bernadaschi.
Yes.
Well, I read your complaint. I somehow was taken back to my own experience just walking down an East Street that has a new cosmetic place. So I sort of believe I understand what your experience was, at least initially, with Mr. West. Mr. West, you're a salesman for what company? And where are they located?
Well, they're all over the United States, but I worked for one in San Francisco.
Where are the products manufactured?
In California, actually.
Where?
Chatsworth, California.
Okay. And they have brick and mortar stores all over the country?
Mm-hmm.
And they have many products, but under that one name?
Yeah, they have many products.
Many products, but they're all...
Yes. They have multiple products and multiple locations all through California, and it looks like a bit of Arizona as well.
How many?
Upwards of 20 locations.
Okay. And can you tell me, Sarah, is it a corporation?
I'd assume so. Their about page.
How long have you worked for the company, sir?
That company in that location, about 3 years.
Where is the corporate headquarters for the company?
It's located in San Mateo.
Do you know if the company was incorporated in the state of California?
Yes, I believe it was.
Under that name?
Mm-hmm.
It's not an answer.
Oh, yes, sorry, my apologies.
It looks like it was an LLC out of Oregon, but is listed as inactive as of 12/22 of 2020.
There's no company in California?
It just says the jurisdiction in which the LLC was created is Oregon. That's as far as I could tell. They have a company address that's listed in a head office in Portland, Oregon.
What do you know about Portland, Oregon?
It's a lot of hippies.
A lot of hippies. What about your company?
Oh.
Do you know anything about your company?
Yes, I think it's probably another location there as well.
Do you know anything about the company that you work for? Was it incorporated in the state of Oregon?
No, it was incorporated in California. And I think Oregon maybe has a franchise.
I can't tell from public record anything
From the state of California.
I tried looking.
I want you to take a look and see if there are any court cases. Sure. Let's try the state of California and the state of Oregon.
Sure.
And the only thing that you could find was the Oregon company under that name that is no longer active.
It might not be the same company, but it has the same name listed in Oregon, so I would assume so, but there's no information on their website about their headquartered information.
Anyway, Ms. Bernardacci, trying to think of the date that you made these purchases. What date was it?
It was February the 21st, 2022.
And you were shopping, you were walking with your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Had a little dog?
Yes.
What kind of dog?
A Shih Tzu.
A Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
My fave.
Oh, yeah, mine too. She's my third one.
You were walking in a mall. What mall and where?
In Santa Clara, California.
That's where you were working?
Mm-hmm.
How long had you been working there?
3 years.
Okay, this is what the case is about as far as I can tell. You were walking. Was it this gentleman who was standing outside?
No, it was
somebody else.
It was somebody else with a basket.
Somebody else. One of the other people who works at your business?
I was the one who offered her a sample.
Outside?
No, in the front of the store.
Well, but it's in the front of the store.
I didn't step outside of the store. I was in the front of our store, not outside of it, but inside the store, and I handed her a sample.
Just a second. Sort of inconsistent with my life's experience of these things, but let's see. Had you gone to his store?
No.
You're walking through the mall. Is it an indoor mall or an outdoor mall?
Indoor.
And when you passed that store, tell me what happened.
I was en route to a specific store. A man with a basket was standing in front of the store.
So there was a man outside with a basket?
It was a basket holding
Where
a basket.
outside?
Right outside of the store.
And it wasn't this gentleman?
No, it was not.
Tell me what the person looked like who gave you the sample.
I believe he was Caucasian. He was shorter than Eric. I believe he was partially bald, and I believe he wore glasses, but I can't be sure. I would know him if I saw him.
With my own personal experience.
Okay, so he offered me a sample of a product. And I said, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And he said, no, please. He said, you'll like it. And I said, I'm in a hurry, and I'm not interested in any of your products. At that point, Eric walked a couple of steps out from the store and started showering my dog and myself with compliments, just like over the top. And he said, why don't you come in my store? I've got a surprise for you. You are going to love me, he said. I said...
So he was doing his salesman shtick.
Yeah.
And from the smile on his face, it's exactly what he was doing, his salesman shtick.
Yeah, and pretty much
you work on commission.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so now he's showering both you and your little Shih Tzu with compliments and how beautiful the Shih Tzu is and how he's going to give you things that are going to take away this line and that line and this crease or whatever.
And I sound like such a sweet and kind person that, he's got a surprise for me.
I got it. Okay. Go ahead. So he got you into the store.
Uh-huh. At that point, he asked me to have a seat. And again, I said, really, I'm not interested. I want to go. So then someone took my dog.
Where was the dog?
On a leash in my hand. And he says, here, I'll take your dog. And I said, no, I'll hold her. And he says, no, I'm going to take care of her. And I'm going, wait a minute. And next thing I knew, Eric was practically on top of me. This chair was located in a position, well, his chair was much higher than mine.
So you were sitting in a chair like mine?
Yeah, well, a chair, just like a...
A makeup chair?
Yes.
Or a hairdresser's chair?
Kind of like a makeup chair.
And he was sitting on a chair or a stool?
A stool.
Stool. Is that right, Eric? I'm talking to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's a yes. Okay, and your stool was higher than her chair.
That is incorrect. We both were sitting on stools.
The same stool?
The same stool.
Was yours higher?
No, it was the same size.
Okay, go ahead.
So, and then, let me try some of this on your face. And I'm looking around for my dog, like, what's going on here? And because he was very aggressive and pushy. And
just tell me what he did without trying to editorialize.
Okay, so basically he
put on all this goop on your face, on your hands. Somebody else in the store was holding your dog while he was putting this on you. He didn't force you into the chair. He aggressively coaxed you into the chair, is what you're telling me, by complimenting you. I mean, he didn't physically drag you into the store. You walked in by yourself.
Right.
Okay. He was using his best aggressive salesman routine. Not easy to get somebody in the store, right, Eric? I mean, it was never easy to get me in one of those stores, and I shop with her all the time. And she's got more lotions and potions and stuff on her counter than any other human being I know. And I've never seen anybody successful in giving her a free sample and getting her into the store. So you must be very good, because we have a few of those stores right in the neighborhood. You must be really talented.
He is.
Just a second. So before we finish with her, and since you originally started, Mr. West, with, no, it was me outside. It wasn't you outside initially. It was somebody else. You came out afterwards. Well, actually, I believe her. So I want you to understand that her description of the person who initially approached her was so specific. And then the fact that you came out and joined that person, because then you became a tag team, is totally convincing to me. I want you to understand that.
I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped. And I was literally traumatized at that point.
When were you held against your will and kidnapped?
Linda Bernadeschi claims salesman Eric West owes her a refund for skincare products she never wanted.
Do you have family, Eric?
Yes.
Great. So I want you to understand that I believe the plaintiff when she tells me you weren't the initial person out there who stopped her with a free sample.
I was the only one working that day, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because you couldn't have got her where you got her to, which is the story she's going to finish, because by the time she got out of the store, she had $8,000 worth of your product.
Which is also not accredited by the Better Business Bureau and has multiple complaints out against them. So, just for the record.
No, that's an important record. Keep looking.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, I decided I'm going to leave and take my dog and get out of here. And I attempted to get up, and he was sitting higher up than I was in such close proximity that I was unable to fully stand up. And as he saw me attempting to, he comes back over with another product. He was across the store, and
well, if he was across the store, Miss Bernadacci, if he was across the store, then he wasn't hovering over you. So what I tried to tell you before is I want you to tell me not what you think is best for your case. If he's standing over you so you couldn't get up, or he's across the room. If he's across the room because he went to get another product, you could have gotten up and left.
No, actually, he wasn't across the room. He was just like, I think it was at the desk behind.
Whatever. He wasn't right on top of you.
No.
You don't understand. I don't believe that you were held against your will in the store. I don't believe that they did that. I think he was overly aggressive and he chose a target.
Yeah, and I was...
Okay, and at what point did you purchase all of this product, which is the subject of this case, because you want your money back?
I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave the store. I've been held against my will before and kidnapped. And I was literally traumatized at that point.
When were you held against your will and kidnapped?
Oh, this was like 15 years ago, maybe?
Well, I would remember that, whether it was 15 years ago. I want you to tell me about that. That forms part of who you are and who the person is that I have to consider with regard to whether or not this was a report of a prior kidnapping. There was.
Yes.
And did they actually find the people who kidnapped you?
Yes.
Was there a trial with regard to those people?
I don't believe so because the guy was on parole, and so he didn't want to go to trial.
So they violated his parole and he went back to prison?
Yes.
And that was in California?
Yes. But
so when you were in the store and you said you felt as if you couldn't leave, you were under pressure, how many people were in the store?
Well, there was Eric and the gentleman that was standing outside of the store, and then a woman came from behind the register in the back room, and he was telling me how this woman is a world-renowned facial beauty massage, whatever expert, running drag on me, pretty much. Let's just put it that way. Anyway,
now you're up from your chair. I want to know how the sale came about.
Well, because I didn't feel that I was going to be able to leave.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
Okay, so I said, look, I don't even have any money to cover this. And I'm looking...
To cover what?
He asked me for my identification, to cover the cost of these beauty products he wanted to sell me.
Okay, how many were there?
There was 4 or 5 different...
creams.
Creams, and then there was a device that, I don't know what you call them, but it was a device that he had used on me while I was sitting in the chair. And, you know, telling me, look in the mirror, doesn't this... You know, can't you tell a big difference? And he even took my phone and took a couple of pictures of me. He says, look at, I said, I can tell a little bit of a difference, but it's not worth the money. And again, I don't even have the money, so I really need to go. So he asked for my driver's license to register the product. And then he told me...
To register the product?
The product that I bought.
Oh, so you did say you would buy the device?
Yeah.
You did say you would buy the device. And how much was the device?
It was just shy of $8,000. I wish I would have brought it with me, but it hasn't been opened. I still have it. I haven't touched it. You wanted to see the receipts?
Yes.
Okay. They're right here.
By the way, what time of day did you go to the store?
This was approximately 6:30 because it was near closing time. Oh, here's the rest of them. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going specifically for one lipstick. That was all I was at the mall for. And it was almost closing.
Sarah Rose, take a look under that name.
I didn't find a device on their website. I already looked, if that's what you're going to...
You looked at this 3D ultrasound and face body?
I've just found 6 products that are creams for face and body on the website.
I'd like to see what this 3D ultrasound is, this $8,000 piece of equipment that you sold her. You have a picture of it? Okay. Could you get that for me? He's going to give it to Sarah. Sarah's going to look up this nonsense.
Thank you.
Some more receipts.
So what I see that you did was spread some of this around different credit cards.
Yes.
And you want to tell me, how did that happen?
Well, I said, these aren't even my credit cards. I'm on the roommate's. And he says, well, you could put half on your roommate's credit card. And I says, no, I am not going to do that. And he says, yeah, make him pay for it. And I'm looking at this guy like, what's going on?
What are you doing with your roommate's credit cards?
Because he's an older gentleman. I've got the power of attorney, and I shop for him. He's not able to do all that.
Is he a roommate, or are you a caregiver?
He's a roommate. We've lived together for 30 years. Anyway, just a very
He hasn't been old and sick for 30 years.
Well, he's kind of...
He may be old and sick now, but he wasn't old and sick for 30 years.
Oh, well, no. I mean...
Do you live together as a couple for 30 years? Do you live together as an almost couple?
No, he's like my father almost. We each have our separate rooms, and I pretty much take care of his house and cook for him. And he doesn't go many places. He's pretty much a recluse. He doesn't like to go to the store. And so I do all the grocery shopping and everything.
Okay. This is the store where you are. Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
Linda Bernardeschi is accusing salesman Eric West of holding her against her will and selling her an unwanted skincare wand.
See, we have a picture of that thing. Rejuven. It's.
Yeah, I have it.
What?
I have it. It looks like this. It's got this on one side, and then I don't know what this is trying to show you.
Ultrasound face and body slimming.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like she needs slimming.
She asked for something that would tighten her skin, as she said that in her younger years she had a lot of issues with drug abuse when we had our conversations, and she's asking for something that can actually help her look more youthful and help her skin tighten. And this is something that she discussed with me when we were sitting at the table.
What's your educational experience?
High school, college.
Where?
I went to like a couple of film and television schools.
I asked you what college you went to.
Oh, Olympic College in Washington State.
And was that a 4-year program?
2-year.
2-year. Is that a brick and mortar college or is that an online college?
Brick and mortar.
And what did you study there?
Just the basics.
What basics?
Gen Eds, you know, your associates, your Gen Eds. And it had nothing to do with my sales and skincare, but my sales and skincare, I actually deal with every client fairly, and I pride myself in
Don't tell me
integrity.
that you deal with every client fairly. She wanted her money back the next day.
She didn't want her money back the next day. She didn't even come back the next day.
When did she come back?
It was like a week or two later. She came back to the store and wanted a refund, and I said, well,
No, just a second. Okay. She came into the store on February 21st, 2022. You get home with all these products. You spread this experience with being taken against your will and held against your will, according to what you told me.
Yeah.
So you know that when that happens, the police get involved. You didn't go to the police when you left to say, you know, I was held against my will. You took the products and you took the products home, right?
Well, I didn't go directly home. I went to my friend's house. She lives 2 blocks from there. I was so traumatized I couldn't drive, and I was beside myself.
Okay, that was February 21st.
Yes.
So what did you do next with regard to Mr. West?
Okay, so by that time it was about 9 o'clock at night, 10 when I got home, and I thought, well, I'll call tomorrow to tell him I want a refund. Actually, I called him and told him that, and he says, well, you're supposed to be down here.
When did you call him and tell him you wanted a refund?
It was the next day when he called me. He called me the next day and says, where are you? And I says, I'm at home. And he says, well, how come you're not here for your free 12 facials that I offered you? And I says, I don't want anything from you. And I didn't ask for anything from him.
So he called you to come in for a free facial?
Yes.
And
I says, I don't plan on coming in for any of the facials, much less 12 of them. What I'd like to come in for is a refund on these products that I don't need. And I felt pressured into buying yesterday, and I can't, I don't want them.
You say that didn't happen for a week?
Your Honor, she had a contract with us for 6 months worth of treatments, hydrofacials, that we included in her purchase that she signed. And
I'd like to see what she signed.
It's actually on my phone. I didn't print out a copy.
Why not?
Because I was rushing this morning, and I was...
Well, you were rushing this morning. You knew you were coming to court for days. What do you mean you didn't print out a contract? Do you have a copy of a contract that you signed?
Yes, I do.
Fine. I'll take a look at your copy.
I also have a police report. Do you want to see the police?
I'd like to see a police report, and I'd like to see a copy of the contract you signed.
Okay, and here's some fictitious businesses that he's got as well. Okay,
I
the contract.
can't hear you. Just hand me the stuff.
Here's the contract.
Skincare, is that your company?
Is that the product you're referring to?
Yes.
Those are the medical devices that we actually retail in the store, and we demonstrate them on the clients. And then typically clients, when they see a difference, they're like, oh, wow.
Listen, you're not selling me, sir.
Oh,
stop
I understand.
This is not a sales pitch to me. What's your commission when you sell an $8,000 light to make your skin nice? What's your commission?
20%.
So yours personally is 20%. How much do they buy them for?
I'm not sure.
What do you think?
I have no.
What do you think?
I'm
Take
not-
a good guess. You've been working for them for 3 years.
I don't know, and I think that you'd have to factor in like the rent for the establishment and all of those things. So I don't really know what the profit margin would be.
Your Honor, on their website, they state that each individually owned brick and mortar store is not affiliated with them, that they
So
run
it's
their
franchise.
own stores. It's sort of a franchise-esque situation.
Who owns your store, or is it a franchise?
It's a franchise?
It's not a question. It sounds like you were asking me a question. Is it a company-owned store, or is it a franchise?
There's a company that owns the store.
But it's a franchise.
Yes, I believe so. I'm not familiar with the legalities of the location and all the business agreements. And
Who hired you?
It wasn't hire. I was in business with him.
Okay, well, it's getting more interesting. Okay, so it wasn't a hire. You're in business with a man whose name is what? Don't think about it.
I don't
if
know.
you're in business with somebody, you're a smart boy. You went
I don't know how to pronounce his
You went to a
last name.
2-year college. What's the name of your business partner?
I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
What?
I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Spell it.
So I don't actually know how to spell it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
And who leases the store where you are? Don't look up in the air. It's going to get only worse.
Her former roommate, Ian Lefkowitz, for unpaid rent and eviction costs.
Ms. Birkland, how long had you lived in your residence?
Prior to the defendant moving in?
Yes.
2 years.
And how long did you live there with the defendant?
A total of 5 years.
You
With
lived
the
in the
defendant, I'm sorry, 3 years.
3 years.
This month would have been.
And for most of that 3-year period, what kind of work do you know that the defendant did?
Computer work and music producing.
How do you support yourself, sir?
I produce music. I don't do computer work.
Produce music for whom?
Various artists and brands and whatever.
How long have you been doing that?
Since I was 13 years old.
How old are you now?
32.
You have a corporation or an LLC?
Not currently standing, but I do have one that is out of commission right now that needs to be reestablished.
When was the last time you filed tax returns?
Last
April.
Last April, yeah.
And on your tax returns that you filed, how much did you indicate that you earned?
I receive royalties from a company called, and they take my taxes out automatically, so I'm not sure how much.
I'm asking you how much you reported your gross income was when you filed your tax returns in April.
Distributes my royalties.
So is what you're saying you didn't file tax returns in April?
I assume that they're filed automatically through this company that pays me.
Mr. Lefkowitz, when was the last time you put a stamp on tax returns that you sent to the government?
I do not know.
Ever? Think?
No,
ever?
Like I said, where I make most of my money, if not all my money, comes through a company called, which they take out the taxes automatically before paying me. So I've never filed through that. I just assumed that it was already taken care of in that way.
You assumed wrong.
Okay.
Okay. There came a time, Mr. Lefkowitz, you lived there for 3 years, but there came a time when you stopped paying rent.
Correct.
And what was your rent when you moved in with the plaintiff?
$1,200 a month.
You had your own room?
Yes.
Bathroom?
Yes.
Most of your money comes from royalties, and I assume that's royalties on past work.
Yes.
And you've been existing on that for how long?
8 years or so.
So how much do you make from these royalties? You pay $1,200 a month rent, you have a car.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, it's not an answer.
Yes.
You have a
how
car.
much do I make?
So you have a car, you have insurance.
Yes.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Honda Clarity.
What year?
It's a lease. It's a 2021.
And how much do you pay a month for the lease?
$395.
Does that include insurance or does it not include insurance?
It does not include insurance.
So you pay an additional how much for insurance?
About $350.
So you spend $700 a month for your car.
Correct.
And let's get back to, you moved in October of 2019, your rent was $1,200 a month. And you lived there until when?
Until about 2 months ago. So September 4th or 3rd is when I moved all my stuff out.
And when was the last month you paid rent?
That would have been in December of 2021.
So you lived there January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and part of September. So at least 8 months that you lived there and didn't pay rent.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't there for August.
For rent that you didn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still living there?
No.
Why not?
I was evicted.
When?
The exact date is August 2nd. I do have my paperwork for notice to vacate and all that.
Just a second.
Sure.
On August 2nd of 20...
I'm sorry, that was the court date, and that's when the judgment was made, was August 2nd.
And when did you move out?
2 weeks later.
That's not true.
And you were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months. Yes.
Just a second. You were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months.
Well, show me that it was for 2 months. I just want to see that it was for 2 months and what 2 months those were.
That page right there.
No, you didn't leave until, let's say, September 1st.
That sounds more like it.
You didn't leave until September 1st.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did mistakenly speak. I do remember that the judge...
Don't tell me what the judge said. I'm asking you when you left.
Gave me 6 weeks from that date of August 8th.
What?
So
Neighbor at...
Just a second.
Yeah.
You left at about the same time.
A few days before.
Fine, that's at about the same time.
She actually left after that. I talked to a neighbor that said around the 14th that she was still there.
You can't tell me what the neighbor said. Sorry, that's why I stopped you before.
Well, I know there's a moratorium for COVID, and the government shut my business down.
That's what he says.
I knew that I had protection.
He's saying the exact same thing you are in his answer. You two are soulmates.
Hey, no, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Shannon Berkland claims her former roommate, Ian Lefkowitz, is responsible for unpaid rent.
Okay, this eviction notice is dated May 26, and it says that you didn't pay April or May.
Correct.
But both of you lived there in June. Did you pay June?
Yes.
Show me proof. Show me proof that you paid June and July. Show me proof you didn't pay April and May. Show me proof that you paid.
My proof?
Your proof.
Is in the fact that I don't owe any rent except for when the moratorium lapsed and I...
No.
I don't have a receipt. I don't have a receipt for payment.
Then just pay rent.
Correct.
For June and July.
Yeah.
Here we go. And you didn't pay for April, May, June, and July. I know you didn't pay for August. There's no question you didn't pay for August, and you were actually there in August, so you didn't pay for 5 months.
I guess, yes.
Okay, yes. And the reason that you didn't pay rent for those 5 months was what?
I had spent all my savings on paying rent, and I had none left. I paid as much as I could, supporting him.
Just a second.
The best I could, and I...
What happened is you both sort of took advantage of this rent moratorium.
Not true.
Well, if you didn't pay rent for April, May, June, July, and August, what were you doing?
Waiting for him to pay his rent because I couldn't afford to pay for my station.
Just a second.
Yeah.
You didn't pay any rent. You didn't.
For COVID, and the government shut my business down.
That's what he says.
I knew that I had protection.
That's what he says. He's saying the exact same thing you are in his answer.
Did he go to court and do the paperwork and do the filings and
Who cares?
And I do.
Who cares? I don't. Each of you seems to be living. You operate your hair business out of your house.
In addition to another business, yes.
Whatever. You operate your hair business out of the house. He operates, I don't know what he does, but I know he's 32 years old, supports himself, spends $700 a month on a car, spent for a long time $1,200 a month rent, and can't remember the last year or the last decade that he filed tax returns. So whatever it is, this is your problem, Miss Berkland, and this is what I actually didn't understand when I read your complaint, because what you're looking for is 8 months' rent from him.
Correct.
You didn't pay the rent.
I shouldn't be evicted. I asked him to leave every month that he didn't pay me.
Should have read a cutter.
I had a business as a hairdresser, and I went out to rent a station, and I was out for 4 months to pay for a station.
It doesn't matter.
Because I wanted to go back to be my nice space that I had created for myself and I've worked my butt off for, and my clients liked. I wasn't getting paid rent for his room. I wanted to move my studio into his. My life has not been easy, and this home was the one thing that I've worked my ass off for. It's the only thing in life that I loved, besides my
Miss Berkland, did you say to your landlord,
yes,
I have a roommate.
Yes.
He's not paying me his half of the rent, but I want to show you in good faith, I am going to give you my portion of the rent. You didn't do that.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, show me. Just a second. Show me. All I know is they say this is your evidence for the full amount of the rent for April and May. And I know you didn't pay June, July, August, and September. I know you didn't pay that. So I'm asking you, just show me some proof, Miss Birkeland, that you said to your landlord, who is also in business. And then they've got two people who decide, well, we have a rent moratorium. I'm not in any worse position now than before, so I'm just not going to pay rent.
Your Honor, I was...
Just show me that you made partial payment to the landlord for April, May, June, July, and August.
I don't have that because I was protected under the law.
Okay, good. And so is he.
Wait, Your Honor,
Case is dismissed. We're finished.
One question
Goodbye. Goodbye. Listen,
I can prove
you two are so.
You're just attempted to pay full rent.
You two.
Gone and I was able to bring my business into the house.
You two are soulmates. You both relied.
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Out.
This court is adjourned.
Soulmates. You both took advantage of a law, and you both lost. Goodbye.
I have nowhere to operate both of my businesses. I created one during COVID.
We both exercised our rights under California tenant laws.
Which I would have had I had a room that he wouldn't leave.
You know, that's just what it is.
Every month I pleaded with him.
It never happened.
I cried, I fought.
She never asked me to leave crying, approached me, nothing.
If it can be helped, don't have a roommate.
Because the plaintiff did the exact same thing using the exact same legal loophole that was created during COVID for people who really were struggling and not being able to afford their rent. And now she sues him for doing the exact same thing that she did. So the landlord is really the only one out here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And if you could write a check to the landlord, that would be fine. But the landlord isn't a party. I have a feeling that there are a lot of very small landlords, you know, not people that own giant buildings, but people who have, you know, their real estate businesses are small. They may have 2 or 3 or 4 apartments that they rent. They maintain them, whatever. She was living there for a while, clearly happy with the situation because she lived there for 5 years. Well, why just not pay your rent if you're still doing hair in the apartment? That's a business. That's what you're doing. He's still collecting his same royalties, which you think somebody else should be reporting on their tax return. I don't know. People have to really grow up. I'm getting so... I'm losing my patience so quick.
Car damages after a night of drinking and driving.
Court come to order.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2018, Gray versus Woods.
Thanks, Kevin. You're welcome. Everybody sober today? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes.
You?
Yes, I'm sober.
Yes?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
Everybody. Okay, good. You two gentlemen know each other. You went out for an evening. I assume there was some drinking, and your car got totaled.
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendant was driving your car when it got totaled.
Yes.
The defendant says he was drinking a little bit, but he says that you don't remember because you were so blotto that you were driving. Right?
Yes.
So that's what the case is about. Simple. 2 drunks, nobody knows who was driving the car when it got totaled. Let's see if we can decipher it. If we can't, I may not care. Because you're not supposed to be in a car when you're drunk. Otherwise, you can kill a lot of people, as we all know. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Want to drive drunk and kill yourself, that's one thing. Right? You take a lot of other people down, and sometimes you make it out. So you have to be understanding to the fact that the judicial system really doesn't give a rat's behind if the 2 of you were drunk and in a car, and neither one of you was together enough to know who was driving the car. When did this incident happen?
It was November 27th, 2021.
How long have you known Mr. Woods, Mr. Gray?
I've known Mr. Woods about 20 years, I would say.
So you've known him since you were kids?
Yeah, since high school.
And you have gone out frequently?
Yes.
Does he come to your house?
Yes.
You go to his house?
Occasionally, yes.
Occasionally. And where were you going on the 27th of November?
We were going downtown Ann Arbor to attend some festivities from the Michigan versus Ohio State football game.
To a football event.
Yeah.
How did Mr. Woods get downtown?
Well, Your Honor, I got dropped off.
By whom?
My friend.
Friend's name?
Lauren.
And where did she drop you off?
She dropped me off in front of the Starbucks downtown where they were waiting because they were drunk. I didn't drink.
Just a second. Lauren dropped you off at Starbucks. Where were you supposed to go from Starbucks?
We were supposed to go to a club, meet up, to hang out.
So it was all after the game?
Yes.
What time did Lauren drop Mr. Woods off at Starbucks?
I would say it was around like 3, 4 o'clock.
In the afternoon?
I believe so.
What time did Lauren drop you off?
It had to be about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And when you say it had to be 5:30 or 6 o'clock, how do you know that?
Because the game was over.
I don't know. I don't watch football, so I don't know when it starts and when it finished. Do you remember what time the game finished?
No, I don't remember exactly.
Okay, so let's say Lauren dropped you off at 5:30. How did you set the time for Mr. Woods to meet you so that he could join your party? The game is over different times. Did you text him? Did he call you?
So on the way, we had left from my barbershop, me and my witness here, Mo Chop.
So you weren't at the game, you were in a barbershop?
Yeah, we were at the barbershop at first. We watched the game.
Oh, you watched, so you didn't go to the game?
We didn't attend the actual game, no.
Okay.
We watched the game at the
How many people, you, Mohammed, and who else watched the game at the barbershop?
I mean, the barbershop was full of, we were still working at the time. We had left work after the game was over to go downtown to...
Were you watching the game or were you working?
I was doing both.
I would have hated to be your last haircut.
No, actually, it wasn't a lot of people there because that was the biggest game of Michigan's season, the last game, Ohio State. It's a big rivalry, so nobody was in our barbershop.
So
really.
It was just party. It was...
It was just party.
You know, I'm old, so, you know... It was just party. You said, Mohammed.
It was a party. Yeah.
It was just party. Okay. So you left the barbershop, but how did you find out to meet them at the Starbucks?
We had been communicating through text.
So you knew what time they were leaving the barbershop, and then you got dropped off. Now, what were you doing with Lauren?
I was waiting to get to them.
Where were you before?
I was at home. I watched the game at home.
With Lauren?
No, with myself.
Well, how'd you get Lauren to take you to Starbucks?
Oh, I just asked her and gave her some gas money.
Okay, so now you're at Starbucks, you meet up, and who's driving? Car, sir, if I was at a party all afternoon watching a big football game?
Ma'am, I wasn't at a party. I was at my barbershop.
I know you were at your barbershop.
Yeah.
Look at Mohammed. I know you were at your barbershop, sir.
There had been any drinking going on at that time.
There was no drinking in the barbershop, Mohammed?
Oh. There was people participating. Some people weren't. Some people were. I wasn't. I wasn't participating.
All righty. Okay. So now you go from this party in the barbershop all afternoon from this very big game, and you pick him up, and where were you going?
At that point, we decided to go to a bar.
Where was the bar?
I'm not familiar with downtown Ann Arbor area, but like it was a bar that was suggested by...
Stand up next to him. He's not familiar with a whole lot of things. You suggested a particular bar, Mohammed?
Yeah,
How far is that from the Starbucks where he was dropped off?
About a couple blocks over.
Okay, and you were in the car?
I was in the car.
Were you sitting in the front or the back when you picked up Mr. Woods?
I was sitting in the passenger seat at this point.
So Mr. Woods got in the back?
Yes, he did.
And you were going a couple of blocks to the bar?
Yeah.
Step by step, what happened next?
So traffic is jam-packed down there, so we're really just inching to the bar. We get to the bar, we go inside, we have a couple drinks.
Okay, so now maybe 6 o'clock, 6:30?
Yeah, dark outside.
And you have a couple of drinks at the bar?
A couple drinks, yeah.
What were you drinking?
I was drinking water.
That's not a drink that they like to serve at a bar.
I was a designated driver, so after we left the bar.
Okay, so you were the designated driver, and Mr. Gray was drinking?
Yes.
What was he drinking?
I don't remember what his drink is.
You remember what you were drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
I had one beer.
Okay. Even he can't keep a straight face. You know, it's hard. It just, don't speak. Now, you were the designated driver. When were you designated the designated driver?
Well,
think very careful. Before you answer my questions, you know.
Okay.
I'm already 2 steps ahead of this game.
When
were you... Yeah.
I've watched you on TV, yes, I know.
When were you designated the designated driver?
When we left the bar, I was the designated driver.
No. So it was when you left the bar?
Yes.
And who designated you the designated driver?
Well, I kind of designated myself. I'm pretty familiar with the Ann Arbor area. It's actually my idea to...
Okay.
Yes, he did.
So you drove. And where were you going from the bar?
To another bar.
Better pickings at the other bar?
Just bar hopping, you know, college, downtown, football.
Okay, and what's the name of that bar?
Where do we go from there?
You're not up! Speak. As I look at you. The name of the other bar. Okay, now he helped you with that, right?
Yeah, he jogged my memory a little bit.
He jogged your memory.
Yeah.
So if he knew the bar, why did you have to be the designated driver?
I don't think I understand your question.
It's very easy. You said you were the designated driver because you know that area.
Right. I'm saying I didn't remember what bar we went to. I'm very familiar with the area. I just didn't remember what bar we were going to that night.
Okay. What happened when you got to the second bar?
We had some more drinks and...
we had some more drinks?
Yes.
What was Mr. Gray drinking?
You know, I was talking to some other friends that I met up with there. He was off doing his own thing. I don't remember what he was drinking.
What were you drinking?
Water still at this point. Water. Yeah. I like to stay hydrated.
Daniel Gray claims his former friend, Tony Woods, drove drunk and crashed his car. Tony says Daniel was the one driving drunk and wrecked his own car.
Okay, so now you had a couple of drinks. You had another glass of water.
Yes.
Mr. Gray and Mr. Woods both were drinking alcohol. And what happened next?
We left there. We went to get something to eat.
Where did you go to eat?
We went to, what's the name of that place?
I don't know the name of the place, and he's not going to tell you.
It's a hot dog place. It's right around the corner from where we was drinking.
And then what happened there?
We got something to eat.
Okay, do you remember what time that was?
You know, I really don't.
Well, you've been already to two bars and a place to eat. So, and if you started out at 6 o'clock, it had to be closer to 9 or 10 o'clock.
Right, yeah.
Okay, then what happened?
Came out of the restaurant.
And you remember what you had at the restaurant?
I had some waffle fries.
And do you remember what Mr. Gray ate?
He had a hot dog.
And do you remember what Mr. Woods ate?
He also had a hot dog.
Good. So you came out of the restaurant. Do you remember who paid the bill?
I think we all paid separately.
Okay, so now you come out of the restaurant.
You know, I try to get him.
Well, just a second.
Okay.
How did he get across the street?
Well, the restaurant was across the street. We parked across the street from the restaurant.
Okay, I got it.
So I had already got back to the car.
Okay.
And Mr. Woods over here started horseplaying, and he ran across the street and tried tackling me, and he got me around my waist. I tried to put him in a headlock, but you see the size of his head. And that just continued throughout the night, this horseplaying.
No. So he's horseplaying with you.
Right.
But you get into the car. You said if you continued all during the night. What I want to know is, from the place where they got hot dogs and you got waffle fries, did you get back into the car?
We did get back into the car. We went one more place.
Okay. Now, when you got back into the car, after the 2 dogs and the fries, who was driving?
At that point, I think I was still driving.
Not think. I don't want to think.
I believe I was driving. I dropped myself off to my next destination because I separated from them two.
You went to one other place?
Yeah.
With them?
With the 3 of them, yes.
And when you got to the other place, you went in or you did not go in?
I went inside, yeah.
Okay. Did you stay there?
I did stay there.
And what about the 2 of them?
They went wherever they went. Back to the barbershop, I believe.
And you were the designated driver.
Up into the
So you were drinking the water.
Yes.
And they were both drinking alcohol. Yes.
Yes.
What do you mean, yeah? You go to at least 2 bars, maybe 3. You have a whole afternoon of drinking at a barbershop. Not you, you were drinking water.
Water, yeah. I don't know what.
Then you get dropped off. You was the designated driver. Now, they're nowhere near home. So you knew one of them was going to be driving.
Right.
And as far as your testimony is concerned, you were left in the last place that you visited. They went out to go someplace else or go back to the barbershop.
Right.
Did you see them again that evening? Is not an answer. I mean, we're coming to court today. You know, it's not a photo shoot. You came here for testimony.
I don't believe I seen them that night again.
No, I'm just talking about that night. That's what we're talking about, that night. This is the night of the accident, the 27th of November, 2021.
I didn't see them again.
You're in a club. You don't know what happened. Now, when they dropped you off, did you go outside with? Okay, now, your witness, the designated water drinking driver, has dropped himself off, and the 2 of you go outside. What happened?
After he gets dropped off, we are parked at a bar, and...
Just a second. He stays there. You get into the car because you're going to another bar.
No, not at this point.
Where were you going?
I was getting ready to go to my barbershop.
He's not with you. Who was driving?
I was driving at that.
Okay. And you were driving to take yourself back, according to you, to the barbershop.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Okay, so we get to the barbershop, and I leave the car running. He's in the car with me.
Just a sec. Got to the barbershop, and you left the car running for what reason?
Because it was cold outside. It was snow. It was, it's November.
Well, what were you going to the barbershop for?
I went to the barbershop because I needed to use the restroom.
And the barbershop is close by to this last bar you were at?
Yes.
How close?
Maybe like 2 miles.
Okay, so you went to the barbershop. You left the car running, and?
So I go in to use the restroom, and I leave the car running, and Mr. Woods was sitting in the car still. So as I'm in the restroom, he comes in and starts knocking on the door and says that he had lost his phone when he had got out the car where we were parked at.
Where?
The last bar that we were at. I didn't actually go into the last bar. We was parked there. We were about to go in to meet up with him.
What do you mean to meet up with him? He was with you.
As he said, he met up with another friend.
He didn't tell me that. He said you just dropped him off at the other bar, and you weren't going in, just he was going in. You dropped him off. That's what he said.
No, he went in.
I understand he went in.
All right, I never went in the last bar.
Okay, you didn't go, and neither did he.
Yeah.
Well, I'm asking you. He said, I lost my phone someplace.
No, where we were parked at, he got out the car for a second. I never got out the car. He got out the car for a second. And at
what
some
was he
point
doing when he got out of the car for a second?
He thought we were about to go in, but I told him that I needed to use the restroom. So he got back in the car. But at some point when he got out the car, he dropped his phone. So I told him I needed to use the restroom, so I go to my shop to use the restroom. I park the car.
Got it.
I get out. I leave the car running. I go pick it up real quick. And I tell him no. Like, just wait, I'll be out in a second. So he leaves. I hear the door open and close. I'm thinking that he's just going to sit back in the car. So when I come out of the restroom, my car is gone. I call him, and he's not answering the phone. So I keep calling. And then the next, 10 minutes later, he answers the phone. So I knew he went to go get his phone.
He found his phone?
Yes, and I'm furious at this point because he just left me in my
At the barbershop?
Yeah, in my car. So I tell him, bring my car back right now. He said, I'm on my way. I'll be there in a minute. About 15 minutes later, he called me and say, yo, man, you gonna kill me, man. I just crashed your car. I'm sorry, bro. Mm-hmm. And I had to walk all the way to the accident scene, to the car where he crashed my car at.
Now, you have an accident report?
No, I don't have an accident report.
Why?
Because we never called the police.
That's
because
probably a good idea.
He wasn't involved with another car. He just hit a pole.
I understand that. That's still an accident report. The only reason you don't call the police is because both of you were drinking.
Well, I wasn't driving the car at that time.
When you were driving the car to the barbershop, right?
Yes.
From the last bar where you dropped Mohammed off, you were driving.
Yes, I was not drunk, though, Yana.
If you're not drinking, it's sort of an interesting thing. Everybody's definition of drunk is different. Your friend Mohammed said that he was the designated driver, so he was just drinking water. That's what he said.
That's what Mohammed.
Which suggests to me that we had a full day of drinking, starting at the barbershop, watching the game, from the game to 2 or 3 bars, then for a bite to eat.
No. I wasn't drinking at the barbershop. I didn't start drinking until we got to the first bar.
Okay, so now you started to drink at 6 o'clock. Now it's 10 o'clock, and you've been drinking from one place to another. I'm just saying you got behind the wheel of the car, and you had been drinking. Now, did you hit a pole?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, now you tell me your version of the events.
Daniel Gray has accused his former friend, Tony Woods, of driving drunk and wrecking his car.
Okay, now you tell me your version of the events.
Okay, first off, I ain't eat no hot dog. So I never.
You didn't what?
I never had a hot dog. Never ate
Okay,
hot dog.
Strike the hot dog.
No hot dog.
Whitney, he denies the hot
I
dog.
didn't eat a hot dog either.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Denies the hot dog.
Okay, so for what happened after they got in the car, first, they were...
By the time the car got trashed, you were drunk. Let me tell you what I believe.
Okay.
So that you can pick it up from there.
Okay.
I believe that Mohammed was dropped off at the last bar. So there came a time at the end of the evening when it was just the two of you. I don't know who's driving. I don't know who's the passenger. But I believe that they dropped him off because otherwise Mohammed, who appears here as a witness today, would have had a better story. Because he says, I don't know what happened afterwards, because I wasn't there. So there was a time at the end of the evening that just the two of you were in the car.
Okay.
That's what I believe.
Okay, can I tell you before that part, though? Because he was driving down the wrong way of the street.
Well, there's no question in my mind he shouldn't have been behind the wheel of a car.
And that's when I lost my phone and my wallet, and we were wrestling in the street. He actually attacked me.
Let's move forward.
Okay.
There came a time when just the two of you were in the car.
Okay.
When was that?
Well, we were sitting in front of a bar that we were about to go to. I got out the car, and I dropped my phone. At that time, I asked him to take me back to get
No. You dropped your phone. And you didn't know you dropped your phone because if you knew you dropped your phone, you would have picked it up.
Right, correct.
Right. So then you got back into the car. Driver's seat or passenger seat?
I was in the passenger seat.
And Mr. Gray was driving?
Yes.
And Mr. Mohammed was at the bar?
Yes, he was with a friend.
He had gone to the bar, so it was the two of you. You're in the passenger seat, he's driving, and he's drunk.
Yes.
And you went back to the barbershop for him to use the restroom. Just follow, because there was a time when you wanted to go back to look for your dropped phone. Do you understand?
Correct.
Now, he goes back to the barbershop. How long was he in the restroom before you realized that you had dropped your phone?
About 5 minutes.
And you realized that you had dropped your phone because you tried to make a call while you were waiting for him.
Correct. And it was snow on the ground, correct.
It was snowing, and he didn't have a Frankfurter.
Yes.
So now he's gone in to use the restroom. You go and look for your phone. You see how easy this is, like... What did you do when you went inside when you realized that you had lost your phone?
I told him, let's go get my phone, and he drove us and went and got the phone.
Okay, so he came out of the restroom. You got back into the passenger seat of the car.
Correct.
And he got into the driver's seat of the car.
Correct.
And what happened?
Then we called Mohammed to try to meet back up with him after we got my phone. And then...
No. Step slowly he turned. Step by step. Inch by inch. Now you're in the car, on your way back to the bar where Mohammed is to look for your phone.
I got drunk. I think I blacked out after that point.
Not according to your answer. According to your answer, you knew exactly what happened, sir. What do you mean you blacked out? You signed a sworn statement.
I know we got the phone. I got the phone back.
Well, I know you got the phone, so you had to have driven back there successfully to get the phone.
Yes.
And is it at that point that you get back into the car and you blacked out?
No, it was just I got really drunk after getting my phone. Like after that,
You don't remember what happened?
I remember getting my phone and being drunk. Like, I got my phone.
Okie dokie, there we go. Okay, you were all drunk. As a matter of fact, I have zero sympathy for any of you getting behind the wheel of a car. Okay, the car was damaged.
Yes, I have.
And so what you want me to believe that you blame him, and I could understand that because I don't know how drunk you actually were, whether or not you blame him for your wrecked car because you were driving the car back to find his phone and it wouldn't have been in that problem had he not dropped his phone out of the car, or whether he was actually driving the car drunk. It's actually irrelevant to me. You were both driving drunk. You have a bill to fix the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
And I have pictures of the accident.
Okay, so the bill was $5,500, and you had insurance?
Yes.
And the insurance paid for how much?
I had no fault insurance.
So you didn't have...
I didn't have collision.
Okay. You didn't have collision, so you had to pay $5,500, which you paid.
Yes.
Divide that by 2.
$2,750.
That's what I thought. So, Mr. Gray, there are some lessons that you learn, and I don't know whether other courts would agree. 27th of November, both of you were in no condition to drive a car. And I can't tell who actually drove the car at the time that it was wrecked. But I do know that you drove the car from a club to your barbershop, and that neither one of you stayed at the scene, called the police, because both of you were inebriated and knew that either one or both of you were going to get busted for a DUI because you both drove the car that evening. What?
Ma'am, I was not drunk at the time that this happened. I did go to the bars, but I wasn't in the bars drinking. That I had one beer.
$2,750, we're done.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like he kind of got the story wrong because I wasn't drunk, but
I think that was very fair. I feel like, the judge was very reasonable.
I had one beer that day, but I mean, there's a limit to like being drunk in the state of Michigan.
It was just one of those drunk things, but we got it taken care of.
I wanted to make him look like my vehicle.
It was very snowy outside and, something happened and I don't remember.
I didn't do anything. I just called the tow truck and tried to get the situation solved.
And I'm very happy to get this case behind me.
Satisfied I got something out of the deal.
I don't know. Hopefully we can get back to being friends. He's a good guy.
I'm surprised you gave them anything. Unclean hands don't deserve money from this court, as we've seen time and again. So I'm surprised, really, that you gave him even half of what he was asking, because you couldn't tell which one of them was credible, if either of them were credible. And so what are you supposed to do? I mean, I guess splitting it down the middle was, I understand why you made your judgment, but I would have taught him a lesson, given him nothing.
Interesting.
Drunk driving is nothing to play around with.
Yeah. Okay.
Very serious.
Okay. I'm glad in the DNA it's getting tougher rather than softer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. You may be right. You may be right. I just felt that they were both at fault, and either you leave the parties where they are, or you say both of you have to hurt a little.
Yep. I understand.
But I actually understand your position.
তো বিষয়টা হচ্ছে কি রাত্রে ভিডিও করতেছি তো এখানে প্লাস হচ্ছে কি আপনার একটা লাইট আছে রিং লাইট ইউজ করতেছি এরপর এই ল্যাপটপের ব্রাইটনেস বাড়ানো সব দিক থেকে মানে মাথা ব্যথা করতেছে এক অবস্থা বাজে অবস্থা রাত্রে ভিডিও শুট করতেছি তো আমার আবার হচ্ছে কি যে কোনো একটা বিষয়ের প্যারা উঠলে ওটা তাড়াতাড়ি শেষ করার খুব চিন্তা ভাবনা না করতে পারে মানে একটু খারাপ লাগে ওই জন্য তো ইনশাআল্লাহ কাজটা এগিয়ে রাখলাম আর কি যাই হোক ओके बाय
हेलो दोस्तों, कैसे हो आप सब लोग। फिर एक बार हाजिर हो गया मैं। देखते रहिए हमको और वीडियो को लास्ट तक।
Terima kasih.
ત્રણ નાયક આરામ તમે હા ચેક કરો પહેરવરી પહેરવરી કડો પહેરવારી ફિટ કરી આલો તમે કેવા ચેક કરી આલો ઠીક છે
ઢીલી નહીં ભણી
ના એ તો અંદર ફિટ થાય તું બહાર
રહે તો મને ખબર
હા તો બહાર રહે તો શું લેવું
વોક ये थोड़ी
ઉપર લતારે સીધો કરી તાર તો શું કોઈ ફિટ કરવા નાક મોટું
कौन मन नखना लीस
કોણ તો આવી જાય ડાયરેક્ટ આ હું દબાવવા માટે લોગો છે ને તાર હેરો છે લો રેડી
ચાર ચાર કરો પડી પેક
બીજું કયો
બસ
ખોલી રાખવું પડી ફિટ થઈ જશે.
કેટલા પૈસા?
200 રૂપિયા.
200 રૂપિયા તમને દઉં.
300 હાલતું. વધારે હાલો કેટલા કરે.
300 લેશો તો ચાલશે.
તો બસ કેમ કે હમણાં ભાવ વધ્યા હોય ને તો તમે
નગર નાખશો? બેટરી
પેટી નંગ નંગ હોય તો ફિટ ના ભાવ વધી લે ને એટલે એવું કે આવો બીજી કોઈ બી વસ્તુ લે ને મોટી વડમ પાસે આવશે ઠીક અણમાં નહીં થાય ભાવ વધી લે એટલે
એમાં રૂપિયા ત્રણ ગ્રામ ઉડી જાય. હા વીટી હા બોલ
બીજી વીટી નહીં લેવી.
મારે લખન બીજી નથી ના એ દિનાડી બાપ
બીજું નહીં લેવું
જમીન લેવો હે